3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the Palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a Football Friday, even though it's a Thursday edition of the Zach Gelb Show, across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and, of course, streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. That's 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, X, at Zach Gelb. That is ZACHGELB. We got a jam-packed show for you today. Coming up at 4 p.m. Eastern time, Danny Kanell is going to stop by. Then at 4:40 p.m. Eastern time, John Kuhn is going to join us. We'll do some NFL picks with him. And then the Arizona State quarterback, Sam Levitt, is going to join us at 5:20 p.m. Eastern, 2:20 p.m. Pacific today. Now, some people may say, Zach, why are you doing a Football Friday on a Thursday? Well, I'm off tomorrow. I'm going to be participating down the hall Boomer and Gio do a live show, and they asked me to participate in that live show on Friday evening in Huntington on Long Island. So I'm going to be there out on the island, and they said, okay, we'll have someone fill the show from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. So Stu will be here tomorrow. Santa will be here tomorrow. And I think it's the sports machine, Sean Levine. Every time I about to say his name, Stu, I'm not going to lie, I almost want to refer to him as the mean machine, Sean Levine. Mean machine, mean machine. But he is the sports machine, so Sean Levine will be in for me tomorrow. So we got a whole lot to do today. And usually, I do not start the show talking about a high school kid, because that's kind of my rule of thumb. I always feel awkward talking about high school kids in a professional setting, but we know recruiting is so big, and we know there are times when we have to talk about high school kids, especially when they make decisions that impact people on the college level. You know, whenever we had to talk about Bronny James when he was in high school, I thought that was bizarre to me. Whenever we had to talk about Arch Manning when he was in high school, I thought that was bizarre to me. But having to break down and analyze and watch kids' high school games, I think is different than when talking about a player who makes a big commitment, who is the second-ranked player in the 2025 class, and Julian Juju Lewis makes a decision today where it's no more. He decommitted from USC. He opened things back up, and then he announced today that he is going to Colorado. So it's really not much talking about Julian Juju Lewis and it's more so what that decision means for the future of Colorado football, also for the NFL, because it pertains to Deion Sanders. Let me just say this right out of the gate. What Deion Sanders, or let me be respectful here, what Coach Prime has done at Colorado, it's unbelievable. To think where we were last year, where Colorado in September was the epicenter of the college football world, we all kind of probably thought that was the apex. When they started off the year 3-0, they beat TCU, they beat Nebraska, and then they just found a way by the seat of their pants to skate by Colorado State. And then after that, there were some games that they were competitive in, and then there were some games that they just absolutely blew, like that game up against Stanford. They were up by an enormous amount of points, and they didn't win the contest. But to finish that season with only one win, I've said this before, it was very disappointing. Because I know people tried to tell me last year, oh, but Zach, you said Colorado was only going to win 4 games, and they won 4 games. But when you start off that season 3-0, expectations change. And I recall last year, and I've said this many times, when they started off 3-0, they needed to get 3 more wins that season, and they only got 1 more win. But then you fast forward to this year, and what do we hear? Colorado revamped their team. Colorado revamped that offensive line. And sometimes you'd rather be lucky than good. They were lucky to win that game up against North Dakota State to start the season. And then in week 2, they got smacked by Nebraska in that first half. And I kind of looked at Colorado after that, and I said, they're not going to be a bowl team, because I thought they were a team of individuals where we all knew the shiny objects of Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, and that they were going to be 2 of the better players in college football, 2 top 10 picks, 2 top 5 picks, right? These were all things that I said. But the way that this team has developed, where the offensive line looks completely different from the first 2 weeks of the season until now, and it's still not perfect, but they were a turnstile in Penn Station on that offensive line pre-COVID. That's how bad the offensive line was, and now the offensive line has been serviceable. They're getting contributions from the special teams. They had a punt return for a touchdown last week. And I think the biggest stride that this team has taken, and you could talk about, right, the wide receivers, and it's more than just Travis Hunter, but you flip it to the other side of the ball, defensively, they have become a solid to a good defense. And now Colorado sits here, and they control their own destiny to make the Big 12 championship game, to get to a college football playoff spot. And the fact that we could even have those conversations in year 2, with the way that Coach Prime has approached this, that's already a great victory. And I'm sure, right, like if Colorado drops one of these next two games, or if Colorado gets to a Big 12 championship game and they lose, whether it's to BYU or it's to Arizona State, there will be a contingent of people that will be like, nah. See, Coach Prime, you didn't do what you were supposed to do when there was actual expectations. And I know expectations change, but I don't care if Colorado loses in the Big 12 championship game, or not. The fact that we could even look at them and say, hey, this team should be in a Big 12 championship game, and I feel dangerously confident for the last few weeks that they're going to win the Big 12, that's already an amazing accomplishment. But I've been around, right, smaller programs that have unexpected success, and then what does the immediate conversation turn into? Oh, well, that coach is going to leave at the first big job that he gets offered. And maybe I'm a sucker here. Maybe I'm a fool here. You know, that's a possibility because I love a good story, and sometimes I just get wrapped up in a really good story, but I try to remain realistic. I have never thought this year only, that Coach Prime is leaving after this season. The only time I may have thought it was in the earlier part of the season when it didn't look like it was going well. Well, if Shedeur leaves and Travis, when they leave, you know, maybe he walks away and he said, hey, you know, I'm good. But when you start to factor in the success that they've had the last 6 to 8 weeks, people have said, oh, is Coach Prime going to go to the NFL? And I said, not next year. People said, oh, is Coach Prime going to take a bigger job in college football? And I kind of said, not next year. I do believe that Coach Prime is staying at Colorado for at least one more season. And today, and I understand in this landscape of college football with the transfer portal and all that just because you get a big recruit doesn't mean that the coach is going to stay. And it's very easy to pick your guys up and move them with you. But to see the video that was put out where you have Shedeur handing over the keys to Colorado football to the number 2 recruit in the 2025 class in Julian Lewis, who was basically recruited by everybody. And the fact that Coach Prime was able to get him, that indicates to me, obvious statement of the day, that Deion Sanders is back at Colorado, not only for next year, but I would garner to say the foreseeable future. Now, hey, if an Auburn, or if at Florida State, or if whoever comes calling, can you say to Juju, hey, follow me? Yeah, like we saw when Prime was at Jackson State, and we know that Shedeur and Travis could have gone pretty much anywhere, especially Travis, that you're able to move players easier now than it was years and years ago. But I really do believe, I'm not going to say for the rest of his coaching career, but for at least the next 2 years, that Coach Prime is at Colorado. And not only that, when we get into the NFL, because it's easy, low-hanging fruit, right? Coach Prime to the Cowboys. Coach Prime to the Jets. Coach Prime to wherever Shedeur gets drafted. I feel like I'm the only one saying this on the radio or in sports media. If Coach Prime is going to be an NFL head coach, I think it's going to be a few years from now. Now, he said he's not interested. But I think it's easier to go follow Shedeur when, let's say, Shedeur this year gets drafted by the Raiders. Let me just throw the Raiders out there. And let's say the first 2 years with the Raiders, Shedeur is good, but the Raiders, to no surprise, sorry, Stu, are an incompetent franchise. They don't get the right pieces around him, and the coaching isn't good. There's an expiration date on Antonio Pierce there. It could be this offseason. And even if they bring in a new guy this offseason, that guy could be gone within 2 years. So if Coach Prime is ever going to follow Shedeur to the NFL, I don't think Coach Prime, let's say, takes the Cowboys job and then just banks that they could find a way to force Shedeur to get drafted by the Cowboys. I think he follows him 2 years from now or later down the road. But the win that Coach Prime got today is unbelievable because it's one thing to dominate on the field and be able to have this unexpected success for a season. But with the charisma, with the personality and with the name that is Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, and you see the social media and the cool impact that Colorado has, imagine 2 years ago, or imagine even last year, even with the success individually of Shedeur and Travis, and even earlier in this season, if I were to tell you that the second player in the 2025 class would end up picking Colorado, you'd probably be like, when he's getting recruited by every other bigger school, I don't really see that. And you look at the state of the Big 12. The Big 12 is a fine football conference. It's a solid football conference. It's obviously not the Big 10. It's obviously not the SEC. But you could be the third best conference in college football. And you look at the Big 12, why can't Colorado, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but Colorado under Coach Prime, why can't they be what Oklahoma was under Lincoln Riley? Where you're consistently winning the Big 12, you're consistently having Heisman Trophy finalists, and you may not win a national championship, but now going from 4 to 12 teams in the playoff, you could consistently be in the college football playoff. And that was always why I said the risk of Coach Prime was worth it. And I always thought it was low risk, high reward. Because a program, and I thought he should have been an SEC coach right away. I said that 2-3 years ago. But a school like Colorado, you were irrelevant in the college football landscape. You had memories from 20, 30 years ago. He took over a 1-win program, and instantly that year brought life to it and brought attention and brought eyeballs and resources that they haven't had. And now that he's winning, he could capitalize off the winning. Even if it doesn't lead to a Big 12 championship this year, which I think it will, and you could really stabilize that program for the next 2 to 3 years or however long Coach Prime stays at Colorado. And the evidence of that and why this could continue after Shedeur leaves this year or Travis Hunter leaves this year, the proof is in the pudding today when you get the announcement of the second overall player in the 2025 class in Julian Lewis saying, yeah, I want to go join Deion Sanders, Coach Prime at Colorado, and I want to be a part of that. And college kids like fun. They do. And Deion's fun. He's also demanding. He's going to develop you. He's going to be, he's extremely hardworking. We know that. But a commitment like this today and a national impact that this brings to Colorado, it's really invaluable. And it just shows that even with all the doubters, Coach Prime had a vision. At times, Coach Prime was laughed at. Coach Prime was told he was never going to work. But right now, he's getting the last laugh. Even if it doesn't lead to a Big 12 championship this year, the fact that we could even talk about Colorado potentially winning the Big 12 championship and go to the college football playoff, he exceeded all expectations already. And today was just the cherry on top of the sundae, but it's going to show you the Sunday is going to last a whole lot longer than any of us could have ever thought. Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a timeout. When we come on back, we got a few pressure questions. Stu has identified 2 players, 2 coaches, whatever it may be. Who is there more pressure on the rest of the year to get the job done in the NFL? I'll get to that on the other side. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Action-packed show today. Danny Kanell is going to join us at the top of the hour. John Kuhn with NFL picks at 4:40 p.m. Eastern Time, and Sam Levitt, the quarterback at Arizona State. They could be playing Colorado in the Big 12 championship game. They got a big one this weekend up against BYU. If they get the job done, man, oh man, we could see Arizona State up against Colorado, right? Just as we all predicted before the season started. We all had Kenny Dillingham's squad going up against Coach Prime in the Big 12 championship. And imagine that, like Colorado, Arizona State in a Big 12 championship. It's still tough to envision, not because of the matchup in terms of what these teams have been able to do, but just with Colorado being back in the Big 12 and Arizona State being in the Big 12, it's like, Pac-12 game? Oh, no, the Pac-12 doesn't exist anymore. That could be the Big 12 championship game. Coming on back after these short messages. Sports fans, listen up. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and bladder leaks could be a side effect. That's why Depend is teaming up with the Prostate Cancer Foundation to encourage screening, because health is a long game and it's yours to win. Now, here's the cool part. Through November, Depend is contributing up to $300,000 to prostate cancer research by donating 40 cents for every purchase of Shields guards and Real Fit products. Void in Mississippi. Learn more at Depend.com.
You're in a 4.5-minute break. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
Stu, you've had a lot of quarterbacks that haven't worked out with your organization in your lifetime. when they say, have you ever had a quarterback that had to say goodbye? Like a press conference?
I guess Carr would be the only thing close.
Did he do a press conference or did he just walk away?
I don't remember.
Yeah, because he quit on the team. Or they sent him home,
They
right?
kind of benched him to send him home because they,
yeah.
It was like a money thing and like a guarantee contract thing. Yeah.
So the reason I bring this up is that Daniel Jones just did a goodbye pretty much, even though he's still on the team, but he's been relegated to the practice squad. So you have not only Tommy DeVito, and this is how backwards the Giants are. So all year long, the Giants' backup quarterback was Drew Lock. So Drew Lock is not starting the Giants' next game. It's actually going to be Tommy DeVito. And then I didn't even know this, Stu. Did you know there was another quarterback on the Giants? Did you happen to see this? Just wondering. There's another quarterback, which puts Daniel Jones actually fourth.
Yeah, I did see that they wound up signing. I believe they signed him recently.
Tim Boyle?
Yeah, former Jet.
Is Tim Boyle? How many teams has Tim Boyle played on, for crying out loud? Maybe it's just because I'm in New York and I remember Tim Boyle, but he was with the Dolphins too. I'm just doing a quick glance. Oh my God. What do you think Tim Boyle got in the league? If you had to just take a guess. What year?
I thought it was pretty recent. I thought it was maybe like 2020, let's say.
2018.
Wow. Longer than I
via
thought.
UConn and Eastern Kentucky. He was with the Packers from 2018 to 2020. Now, this is just all off Wikipedia. Lions 2021 to 2022. Also in 2022. The Bears, he's with the Jets in 2023, the Texans in 2023, the Dolphins in 2024, and the Giants with 2024. This dude has been on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams. 7 teams. And he's only entered the league in 2018. So 2018 season, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. That's just bonkers that you could be on that many teams in the NFL. But Stu, it's so funny to me, this whole Daniel Jones goodbye. Because now, you know what annoys me? Everyone on social media now, right? Everyone has to give an opinion, right? I give opinions on social media, so I understand it's hypocritical. But there's always, when there's someone that says like goodbye or is getting emotional, everyone has to sit there and take their thumbs and put them on their phone and go, oh, what a great guy. So bad it didn't work out. Like, yeah, Daniel Jones, no crap, is a classy guy. But do we need now tweet after tweet about Daniel Jones? Like, the guy, he's getting paid a fortune. He had one good season. One. This isn't as if he's been in the league for 10 to 15 years and he provided a lot of great moments. Yes, the Giants organization didn't put him in a good spot, but Daniel Jones also sucked. All right? He had so many turnovers. And I get it. He's hardworking. I get it. He suffered so many injuries. But we don't need to be like, with how cold we are in this society. It is also so funny the things that we get all warm and fuzzy about. And during the break, like, I'm not kidding, Stu. You would have thought this guy died. But it was like eulogies on social media about Daniel freaking Jones because he took to the podium today with the prepared statement, read it for about 2 minutes, and everyone's like, oh, what a good guy that is. Like, all you guys just made fun of him for the last 4 to 5 years. Now, oh, what a good guy. Stinks it didn't work out. Like, come on. You would think, Stu, this was Eli Manning basically saying goodbye to the Giants today by the reaction I see on social media. It's like, I get it. The Giants are going to make him available, right? He has to speak. But this long, like him making a statement and reflecting all that, okay, that's all his right to do so. But it seems like it's so bizarre. Was anyone sitting here dying to hear from Daniel Jones today, for crying out loud? His career was over with the Giants before the season even started. We all saw it on the offseason Hard Knocks when they were calling everybody to try to move up in the draft. They were going through the process. So I don't know, Stu. You've had so many bad quarterbacks. You really had. And Derek Carr actually did more for the Raiders than Daniel Jones did for the Giants. So I guess there's not something like much more. So, and I'm not someone that likes to give any praise to Derek Carr, but it would be as if Gardner Minshew was on your team. Like let's say
Yes.
if Gardner Minshew got drafted in the first round by the Raiders, okay? And Gardner Minshew was on your team for 4 years, and he had maybe one season, and then the other 3, he was just bad or hurt, or it just didn't work. And then Gardner Minshew gets up in front of the podium and is giving this long, emotional goodbye. Like, Stu, you wouldn't get on, please tell me, and say, oh, man, I feel so bad for him. Even though I trashed him each and every Sunday, good guy. It just sucks that it didn't work out. Like that, it's just weird to me.
It's so weird. Yeah, there's no shot I would be sitting there praising him and thanking him and all that kind of stuff. No.
I wonder if Marash, right? Who Marash is Mr. Giant. I wonder if he commented on this. Let me see. 13 minutes ago.
Uh-oh.
Great guy. Sucks crushing his play, but it's the reality of the business. All right, that's not that terrible. But you would think that Daniel Jones would be up for a Nobel Peace Prize for crying out loud. He's a great guy. Okay, we all get it. He was a good dude. He was a hard worker. He was also a crappy quarterback. Like this idea that it's just fun. It's just so out of place to me today. You have him talk. I feel bad for him. He's up there crying as if he had a 20-year career. So we'll see what the next chapter is for Daniel Jones. Just bizarre. I know people will say I'm heartless. I understand. I know people will say, oh, Zach, you don't have a soul. It's bizarre to me. It's bizarre. And we don't have to act like every time something doesn't work out for someone, we have to say that like, it feels like someone died pretty much. Just weird. All righty, let's get some music going up here. Let's get to what we were going to do here. All righty, Stu. We got the music going. You give me right now what we're going to do here. More pressure to win a Super Bowl this year. You've identified some matchups.
Yes. So in the NFC, we have 2 coaches that have gone pretty far, but never have lifted the Lombardi Trophy, and that is Shanahan and Sirianni, the two NFC coaches.
I can't believe I'm going to say this. I think there's more pressure on Nick Sirianni because I believe more in the Eagles right now than I do the San Francisco 49ers. And Sirianni still has a lot to prove to me because that team just absolutely face-planted last year after being 10-1. Now, they're in a good spot right now being 8-2. Brandon Graham joined us last week. He said this year is going to be different. But I don't even know if the Niners are going to make the playoffs because when you look at the NFC, Eagles win that division. Lions probably win their division. You then look at the NFC South. The Falcons win the division. The West is open, but that gets one spot. And then for the wild card teams, Commanders will get in. The Packers will get in and the Vikings will get in. So I don't even know if the Niners will win the NFC West, and the Eagles look like they are the second best team in the NFC right now, so I put more pressure on Nick Sirianni.
Okay, we have 2 quarterback matchups that I've outlined, but we'll start in the NFC with this one. You have Brock Purdy of the 49ers or Jared Goff of the Lions, the former number 1 pick.
So Purdy hasn't been paid. Goff already got paid. Could there maybe be you know what I haven't even thought about? Now, I don't think this would be smart. Do the Niners, you think, come calling at the end of the year for Aaron Rodgers? We know that the 49ers a few years ago, Brady was interested. They said no for Jimmy G, but then Shanahan was interested in Brady, and they at least kind of approached that because Brock Purdy was even on the record talking about it. So I would think that they don't. But maybe there's a desire to see somebody other than Purdy in there. But I think Purdy's going to be back next year. I'd say there's more pressure on Goff because here's the thing. You don't know how, right? We all look at we've seen it with the Niners, right? They had a window. And maybe they could still find a way to win a Super Bowl again. The Lions, though, are definitely in that window now where they need to go get a Super Bowl in this year to the next 3 years, or it's not going to happen with this group. And when I look at Goff, it's similar to the conversation of Purdy. Goff's having obviously a better year, but those teams are the 2 teams in the NFL who really don't praise the individual quarterback that much. We talk about the construction of the team. So therefore, if it doesn't go that way, we all turn against the quarterback. And Goff's having a heck of a season. So therefore, I'm going to say there's more pressure on Goff because you could take to Detroit to a level that they've never done before and really cement your place in NFL history if you are the quarterback that wins a Super Bowl with the Detroit Lions, while also getting some vindication as well. Because yes, the Rams won a Super Bowl without you, but you were a Super Bowl caliber quarterback in a Super Bowl when the Rams did lose to the Patriots a second time. So I'll go Jared Goff on that one.
All right. What about two running backs who signed this offseason and have great seasons so far for their team? They are number 1 and 2 in the league in rushing right now, and that is Derrick Henry of the Ravens or Saquon Barkley of the Eagles.
I think it's Derrick Henry because even though Saquon is the MVP of the Philadelphia Eagles, if it doesn't go their way, I don't think we're blaming Saquon first. I think we're blaming either Nick Sirianni or we're blaming Jalen Hurts. When I look at the Ravens, bringing in Derrick Henry there, I know they lost last week, kind of brought the expectations back for that team and revitalized what we thought and rejuvenated that we thought could be a Super Bowl window for them. So I'm going to go Derrick Henry on that one.
All right. Last but not least, obviously, we have had Patrick Mahomes kind of dominate the AFC.
Yeah, he's pretty good, right?
Yeah, he's not too bad. And
his statistics kind of suck, though, this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe the Raiders could put a trade call at him and when his stock is low. Maybe he could get Mahomes traded to the Raiders this year. How do you think that phone call would go? Tom Telesco picks up the phone, calls Veach. Does he even finish the sentence before the phone just hanged up?
Either that or he would say, Veach would say something that I probably can't repeat on the radio, I would assume.
Get the F off my phone line.
So obviously Mahomes is dominated, but there are two obviously great quarterbacks in the AFC that are trying to get over the hump and get to and win a Super Bowl. And that, of course, is Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson.
More pressure. So you could actually answer this. I think most people would say it's still Lamar because with how much Lamar runs the football, you wonder how long his body could hold up, even though most of his hits haven't been, or most of the injuries haven't happened because of him running the ball. Usually have happened in the pocket, and Lamar does a pretty good job at avoiding contact. But I think so many people are out on Lamar winning a Super Bowl. You know, I felt like I was on an island this year when I picked the Ravens to go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. So I'm going to actually say that it's Josh Allen because the Bills now being 8-2 and how close they have been to taking down, or 9-2, I think the Bills I think are 9-2 because they just ended their bye week. So with how close the Bills have been up against Kansas City and not getting the job done, and they've beat them 4 times in the regular season, yeah, to me, there's more pressure on Josh Allen. So good stuff there. We can fade down the music. We have this Daniel Jones audio right now. Let me just play this right here. This is Daniel Jones talking to the media, which everyone now is getting on Twitter. Oh, what a good guy. What a nice guy. Shame it didn't work in New York. This is the former quarterback who's still on the roster, but he's not going to play again. Daniel Jones.
All right, wrote something down just to make sure I say it the right way. Let's see. The opportunity to play for the New York Giants was truly a dream come true, and I'm extremely grateful to the Mara and Tisch families for the chance to play here. The Giants are truly a first-class organization, and I have nothing but genuine respect and appreciation for the people who have built it and who helped carry on that tradition. I've met so many special people and created relationships that will truly last a lifetime. Thank you to all my teammates, coaches, and staff that have done so much for me these past 6 years. There have been some great times, but of course, we all wish there had been more of those. I take full responsibility for my part in not bringing more wins. No one wanted to win more games worse than me, and I gave everything I had on the field and in my preparation. Of course, this season has been disappointing for all, and of course, I wish I could have done more. I'm 100% accountable for my part. I did not play well enough consistently enough to help the team get the results. The reality of the NFL is it's hard to win games and requires consistent performance from everyone involved. We didn't do that well enough, so the idea to change something happens, and I understand. I love the game. I love being part of a team.
Oh, boy.
I'm excited for the next opportunity and know that there's a lot of good football in front of me, and I'm excited about that. To all the fans, I have deep respect and appreciation for your passion and love for the Giants. The fans are a huge part of what makes playing for the Giants so special.
someone cutting onions here? I think I'm crying here. You know, your career with the Giants was over this season before it even started. So maybe it just finally hit in reality, has smacked him in the face. And hey, I can at least respect that. At least he gave a statement. At least he talked and didn't just duck it like a lot of people would and just avoided it. But you would think that this guy has all these great memories on the Giants. He stunk. And I get the Giants did not put him in a good spot. But this idea that now, after everyone pointed the finger and laughed at Daniel Jones the last few years, and every player's like, oh, how do they pay Daniel Jones but not Saquon Barkley? Now that I'm seeing him become a sympathetic figure on Twitter in the last 45 minutes is crazy. You know, I love Armira from My Sports Update. This is what he just tweeted. Regardless of your opinion on Daniel Jones, having him play safety is an embarrassing look for a once proud organization. In the past week, the Giants went from having Daniel Jones as their starting QB to benching him, announcing him as the third QB, and local media noting he was effectively QB4 behind newly signed Tim Boyle today. He's playing scout team safety. Not great. Like, come on. Trust me, you could dump on the Giants for a lot of things. They gave this guy a contract. That's what you should criticize them for. They declined this guy's fifth-year option, then he won a playoff game. They had to give him this big contract. Daniel Jones stole money from the Giants. And I know they didn't put him in a good position to succeed. I get it, he fought through some injuries. I get it, the guy's a nice guy. Teammates like him. But this idea that, like, the Giants screwed over Daniel Jones this year, he shouldn't have been on the team. So, like, to sit up there, I respect what you do, but this big goodbye, like, with the tears and everything, how somber it is, it feels like a Saturday Night Live skit, if I'm just being honest. I'm laughing. Everyone's like, everyone that trashes him is on social media today. Oh, you feel so bad for him. Oh, terrible. Oh, I love him. Great competitor. Stop. Just stop. I know people are going to say, oh, you're a curmudgeon. You have no heart. You have no soul. But geez Louise, that was too much. You got to give something. That was way too much. And the reaction, it's really not Daniel Jones' fault. It's the reaction to what Daniel Jones said that really annoys me. All right, he'll take a break. We'll come on back with a news brief. Here's the latest update. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And this report is sponsored by Progressive, who's proud to support veterans and small businesses with their annual Keys to Progress vehicle giveaway program, helping our heroes drive their lives forward. Learn more at keystoprogress.com. The Browns and Steelers meet in Cleveland to open Week 12. Pittsburgh leads the AFC North and has won 5 straight, while Russell Wilson has seemed rejuvenated, going 4-0 since coming off IR. Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski said the 9-time Pro Bowler still has a lot left in the tank.
He's a great player. The style of which he plays hasn't changed very much. He can win off schedule. He can win on schedule. Great deep ball thrower. He's taking care of the ball. He's a great player.
Browns have lost back-to-back games. Jameis Winston's 398 yards passing weren't enough on Sunday. Shohei Ohtani goes for back-to-back MVPs and tries to join Frank Robinson as the only person to win them in both leagues. The Dodgers star is the overwhelming favorite in the National League after a 50-50 season, his first in the NL. The Mets' Francisco Lindor and the Diamondbacks' Ketel Marte, the other finalists. The American League, the Yankees' Aaron Judge, hoping to win his second after leading the league with 58 homers and 144 RBIs. The Royals' Bobby Witt made a convincing argument by leading the league in hitting and going along with a 30-30 season. The Yankees' Juan Soto, the other finalist. Thunder check.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
All righty, news brief time. Let's start with Julian Lewis, who just committed to Colorado today. He was on the Pat McAfee show making the commitment, and this is what it sounded like.
So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Julian Juju Lewis will be playing football for whom next year, brother?
I will be continuing my athletic and academic career at the University of Colorado.
Do you think they knew, Stu? Like, someone in production had to know because they had the graphic right away. Do you think Pat McAfee was told where his commitment was going to be before that?
I would say yes. That would be my guess. I think the crew definitely knew. Did Pat know? I would say most likely yes as well.
If I was in Pat's position, I wouldn't want to know.
Yeah.
Because that, sounded so fake from Pat
yeah,
McAfee.
An organic
and I love
reaction
Pat.
would be amazing.
Yeah.
Not saying he's not organic, but you know what I mean. Like, just the reaction to, like, not knowing where he's going and he commits to Colorado. That's incredible stuff.
Well, you know what? He is a wrestling guy, so maybe he's used to the fake reactions to things that he already knows what's going to happen and that are scripted. You know, just say. Just say. If Taz was still here, Taz would not have liked that comment by your boy. But Taz and I had a good relationship. Here is Julian Lewis on why Colorado.
Coach Prime's always said, like, the best man's going to play, and that's really what I wanted, was to be able to come in and compete. Start as a freshman, I mean, I wouldn't have much fun sitting on the bench, so I was like, I want to come in somewhere I can get a chance to play, so he's going to let me compete for that. That was big for me.
All righty, so there you go. Julian Lewis making his way to Colorado, and you feel like Deion Sanders now will stay at Colorado, even though I felt that way before the announcement today. But what an unbelievable job Coach Prime has done with the Buffs. All righty, let's get to Dan Campbell. I always love when opposing coaches talk about the other team's quarterback when the other team's quarterback isn't that good, but they make him out to be better than what he actually is. I have no clue. This is an organic reaction. I'm just going to this. I have no clue what this cut is. All it is Dan Campbell and Anthony Richardson. I'm going to assume that Dan Campbell is effusive in his praise of what Anthony Richardson. Let's see.
I think what you saw was last week really at his best. I'm not even sure you can go back to early in the year because I feel like they've taken the handcuffs off of him and allowed him to just go. And I think it's, there's a lot of things to where, you got to be careful. That's your guy. You run him too much, he gets hit, he gets injured, and I think now it's, all bets are off and we got to get first downs, we got to score touchdowns, and you got to lead us to it.
Kind of hope the Colts lose this weekend. Nothing against Indianapolis, Stu. But if we have to hear Hickey hype up Anthony Richardson after beating the Detroit Lions, I don't know if my body, I don't know if my soul could take that. So Dexter Lawrence was critical of Daniel Jones getting benched. I don't know why. But Brian Daboll responded to those comments by Sexy Dexy.
I got a lot of respect for Dex. Dex has, been a teammate of Daniel for a while. There's a pretty good relationship with there. And look, everybody's not going to agree with the decision, and I understand that. We make the decision we feel is best. Dex and I have a good relationship, and I respect Dex a great deal. Again, everybody's going to have certain opinions. I got a lot of respect for all our players. I think we're focused. We'll be focused and do what we need to do to play our best against Tampa.
Can I tell you what that sounded like? That sounded like Brian Daboll saying, yeah, I respect Dexter Lawrence. Don't beat the crap out of me because you're a large man. And now Daboll looks like he's on Ozempic, so he's lost a lot of weight. But don't beat me up, but I'm the man. I make the decisions. So be quiet. That's pretty much what I took it from Brian Daboll right there. He did it the nice way. Here is Devontae Adams. He was on Up and Adams with Kay Adams reacting to the Joe Douglas firing.
It's surprising, but it's not, just because the way that this game goes. And, when games aren't being won and things don't look the way that they were intended to look, something's got to change. Obviously, I wasn't technically here yet for the head coaching change here, but going through that in Vegas, when things aren't working, typically things get moved around. You got to adjust some furniture. So, you kind of anticipate it coming just based off of the scope of the season and the way that we have been looking as a team. And, they got to place the blame or, put accountability on somebody. And oftentimes it winds up on the coach and, the management. And that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles. I'm not here to talk about whether or not it was supposed to happen. I'm just saying that's just typically how it goes.
So do you ever stay at an all-inclusive resort or a very, very nice hotel? Just wondered.
Yes.
So when you stay at one of those places, it's like paradise, correct, Amundo?
I would say so.
And then we've all stayed in really bad hotels, right?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like horrifying stories. Devontae Adams went from being at the greatest hotel ever to the two worst motels you could ever imagine. And now he is just numb to those experiences where he keeps on checking himself in to those horrible hotels. And he's like, hey, I'm now an expert in this stuff. The Raiders taught me a lot of things, and I saw a lot of nasty things. The sheets were ripped. There was a body under the bed. It was just ugly. It was really ugly. The whole room smelled like smoke. So now I see it again with the Jets. Okay, I remember a time where I stayed in the penthouse of Green Bay. Now I'm with the Raiders and the Jets. So I always laugh when I hear him talk about this now. Here is J.J. Watt on T.J. Watt's beef with Garrett Miles.
There's zero problem whatsoever with Myles Garrett. He's an unbelievable player. TJ has zero problem with him whatsoever. He thinks he's an unbelievable player. This has never been about Myles Garrett or if he's worthy or if he's a great player or any, that is undisputable. He's a phenomenal player. It's more just about the overall system and the voting and things like that. That's what that was last year. Nothing, zero rivalry there with the guy.
I think I called him Garrett Miles there. Myles Garrett, I meant. Sorry. Still caught up in the whole Daniel Jones thing and all the tears that I had to shed. J.J. Watt, just say it. This all has to do with Micah Parsons coming on this show and trashing T.J. Watt, which J.J. Watt was very vocal about that. And T.J. Watt was not happy with the voting process last year. And then J.J. was vocal about what Micah Parsons said about Myles Garrett, or as I called him, Garrett Miles. I don't know how the heck I did that. All righty, we'll cut the news brief there because we got to get to Danny Kanell coming up in a few moments. We will get into later on in the show some of the dumbest advice I've ever heard an analyst give to another program. And then after you got clowned for it, you then double down on it. I have one thing to say something stupid, Stu. We all say something stupid. And then to double down on it as if you were right to further explain it, you almost do more damage that way. But Joey Galloway gave some of the most bizarre advice to the Indiana football program that I've ever heard. Where when it was sent to me the other day, and when Samter sent it in our Slack, I go, is Samter reading The Onion? What is he reading? www.fakenews.com? There's no way that this could be real. And then the audio was real. I don't want to say it was spectacular because it was dumb, but it was spectacularly dumb. And then what should have been a clarification ended up him just saying, yeah, I just lost all my money in blackjack. Let me go back to the ATM and take out the same amount of cash and throw it all down on one hand, and then you lose. Whew. So we play you that Joey Galloway audio coming up at some point in the next hour of the show. But we will come on back with Danny Kanell. We'll talk a little college football with him next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Danny Kanell is going to join us, one of our favorites to talk college football with. Make sure you check out BetOnline for updated college football playoff, conference, Heisman, and college football Week 13 lines. Danny Kanell is here with us once again on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Danny, how you been?
Phenomenal. What's going on? I can't believe, we've caught up a few times and here we are with 2 weeks of the regular season to go. And we're already in the thick of this debate. It is crazy how fast the season goes by, but I love it, man. It's been an awesome season. I think it's only going to be more dramatic here down the home stretch.
So let me start you off with Colorado. 2-3 years ago, when we knew Coach Prime was going to leave Jackson State, I was like, an SEC school should hire him. And then last year, right, you go through the whole timeline. I thought they could get 4 wins. They got 4 wins, but when you start off 3-0, they needed to be better. But where they were at earlier on this year, with an underwhelming performance up against North Dakota State and then getting smacked by Nebraska, and we'll get to the recruiting part of it in just a second, what happened today. But the fact that they control their own destiny to make the college football playoff by winning the Big 12 championship, I'm just blown away by what this Colorado team, and that's the big part here, team has been able to do the last 2 months.
Yeah, Zach, it's been an awesome story. It really has. And, it's been volatile, right? I mean, since Deion's got there, he comes in and he's bringing his Louis with him, and he comes and makes this big emphatic statements over the top, and it looks like it's going to work. And then last year, I felt like they were a little bit fraudulent. So I criticized them. And then, the Colorado backers get upset with you and it gets contentious, and then they fall off the rails. And then all of a sudden this year, which I gave them a blank slate, said, all right, let's try it again. And they cleaned out the roster again. But the one thing that they've got going for them is two of the best players in the country. And you could argue there's probably 3 or 4, but really Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, who's going to win the Heisman Trophy, are that type of special player that are on this roster. And I have maintained all along that Deion Sanders, underneath the bravado, the sound bites, the gold chains, everything else he's about, I think he's an old school coach. Like, he holds his players accountable. He's hard on them in practice. He wants them to go out there and work hard. And he's been a great example from that standpoint. It has been a phenomenal story for them to be in this position. And yet here they are. You mentioned it, controlling their own destiny, and they're only a 3-point favorite against Kansas, who's at the bottom of the Big 12 rankings. It's going to be a really fun matchup for him, but it's hard to bet against Shedeur and all those talented receivers that he's got, and a defense which has been much more physical.
So I've been saying all week, I think there will be 5 Heisman Trophy finalists, or there should be 5 Heisman Trophy finalists. Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, but I think only 2 could win, and that would be Ashton Genty and Travis Hunter. You just said Travis will win the Heisman Trophy. Expand on that a little bit.
So, I mean, if you look at the odds, he's already like minus 250, which is a very heavy favorite. And remember, I think maybe even the last time I came on here, it was like, how many wins do they need to get to potentially, be in the conversation? And it was 8, which felt like a stretch. Well, here we are. They're at 8-2 already with 2 games remaining. And it's like, oh, they've got that going for them. And if you watch this past weekend, he had the big interception. And really, it was funny because I'm sitting here at CBS Sports HQ. We've got our analytics department, and they're following the odds closely. Like, he started off the day at like minus 110. Then he gets a reception. It's minus 130. Then he has an interception, and it goes up to like minus 160. Then he has that sick catch. It's just, he's doing something we haven't seen done really in the last 50 years of somebody playing both ways. He's on a team that's in the playoff hunt. And I do think there is a thirst for somebody who is not a quarterback to win the award.
Sure.
And then not only that, because we've seen running backs win not that long ago, he's this kind of, a unicorn that we just haven't seen. So I think all of that combined with the fact that every time he plays, because it's Colorado, they get a million eyeballs, millions of eyeballs on him. He's got a lot going for him. So I think it's almost a done deal. And I'll say this, like a lot of times, Zach, if it's a quarterback, if you have a bad game, it's 3 interceptions, it's glaringly bad, and you lose, like you can lose the award. What he does, like a bad game, he got beat for his first touchdown last week, but nobody really talked about it. Because of the nature of his position, unless he really screws up, which is hard to do, it's just not going to be that much attention. So I think he's fine. I think he's going to win the award, and I think he should.
For all the quarterbacks, as Danny Kanell is here with us, that are eligible for the draft this year, from Carson Beck to Jalen Milroe, Quinn Ewers, Dylan Gabriel, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, to you, is Shedeur at the top of that list if you had the number 1 overall pick and needed a quarterback?
I'll say this, and all those names, none of them get you too excited. All of them have flaws, they have blemishes, except for the last 2. And you save the best for last. I like how you did that, because I do think it's a 2-man race at the top between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. And the reason I think it's interesting is they're very different players. Shedeur does not have a cannon for an arm. He's got a good arm. He doesn't run like Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels, but he makes outstanding decisions. He's incredibly accurate with the football, and he's been a winner everywhere he's been and turned Colorado into a winner. I think that's incredibly valuable. Then you've got Cam Ward, who is a little bit shaky with the decisions, right? He likes to be a little bit more of a gunslinger. He's not afraid to throw it across his body. He gets into trouble, gets his team behind sometimes because of those, but he's got a cannon for an arm, and he's an incredible runner. He's a better athlete playing quarterback than Shedeur is. So I do think with Cam Ward, I think you could be enticed with the upside potential, and he can bail you out off a bad offensive line out of a lot of bad situations. Where Shedeur, he might take a lot of sacks. He's been sacked 31 times this year, but he's not going to make that big mistake. I think the dynamic of which one do you want? The one where you kind of know what you're going to get, but it might be capped at the upside with Shedeur? Or do you want to go with that enticing, shiny new toy of Cam Ward where, man, that upside could be sky's the limit, another rookie of the year or a Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, maybe Patrick Mahomes type of player? That could be enticing for teams too. But I do think those 2 are a cut above the rest.
To get the second-ranked player in the class of 2025 today for Colorado, Julian Lewis, a quarterback, and I thought the video was awesome. If I'm a kid, I'm like, all right, I want to go to Colorado, and you see Shedeur handing off the keys to Juju. How did you process that one? And also, I didn't think Deion was leaving after this year, but now I feel this just reiterates that he's definitely going to be back at Colorado next year.
Kinda. I mean, there's been this crazy, and I actually floated it back when I was on Mad Dog Sports Radio. This was 2 years ago, and I said, watch out if the Cowboys implode.
Yeah, I remember
Shador
that.
keeps playing well, and Deion turns into a winner. Jerry Jones is the one owner who would take a coach like Prime and say, you know what? That's one of my guys. He takes care of his guys, and guess what he loves? Ticket sales and eyeballs. And you're going to rate off the charts. And I think it would be enticing for Deion if you could work out some sort of package deal because they have the Dak Prescott problem. But if you could somehow bring Shador there with you and it's a package deal, that's the only scenario I would see, Coach Prime leaving. And he already alluded to it this week. He talked about putting his kickstand down. I don't know if he's taken another job in college, but the Cowboys are the one that I think would be just too much of an attraction, which is probably still an extreme long shot that it even happens. But that's the one that I would say if he left there, I wouldn't be surprised. If he left to take another job, maybe in the SEC or the Big Ten, I would be more surprised. So I believe him. And I think this is huge because that was going to be one of the massive holes that he would have to fill was Shador at quarterback. And getting one of the top quarterbacks in the country to commit to you is huge. And obviously, it's the most important position in the game. And we see how many schools struggle without a quarterback. It's a huge step in the right direction. So if you're a Colorado fan that was worried about him leaving, I think not only is it a sigh of relief, but it also gives you more hope for the future of actually keeping this thing rolling and being good again.
Here's the thing. I think he'll be back next year, and I think a lot of people have missed this on this. I could see him eventually going to the NFL, but I think it's once Shador gets drafted, and let's say the coach there doesn't work in the first year or the second year, that's when I think there's a momentum wave for Coach Prime to go there. Because he could, for example, sign a deal with the Raiders, let's just say this offseason, and there's still not a guarantee that the other teams are going to allow Shador to go to the Raiders via the draft.
Yeah, but here's what Deion has already alluded to. He's not going to let Shador make a move to a franchise that he doesn't like. So they're not afraid. They've got money, so you could wait and you could kind of try to hijack the draft. I mean, they are outside the box thinkers, right? I mean, they have done things completely different than we've ever seen in college football. It would probably be just kind of more along the same lines of thinking. If you don't like the team you're drafted, you just threaten not to play for them and wait a year. So that would be unprecedented. We've seen players manipulate it and get traded like an Eli Manning or a John Elway, but we haven't seen it in the last 15, 20 years. So it would not surprise me if they do try to manipulate where he goes so that it's a winning situation or a place where coach and father and son could go somewhere together. Because think about it. He has coached Shador at every level, coached him in youth football, coached him in high school football, and coached him all throughout his entire college career, going back to Jackson State and now Colorado. I just kind of look at the tea leaves and say, man, that's where Deion has, he's felt called to be a coach. Well, that calling has always included being coach for his son.
I'm going to be a jackass here, Danny Kanell. I'm sure you agree with Joey Galloway that Curtis Rourke should get benched and shouldn't go up against Ohio State this weekend, right? That seems like a Kurt Cignetti move.
My man, Joey Galloway, we worked next to each other a lot in that studio at ESPN. And he's an outside the box thinker. Like he would come up with some theories and I'd be like, what are you talking about? This is one of those ones where I would put it in that. And I don't know, and I haven't talked to him, but I don't know if he seriously was, believing that was something that could actually happen as much as so using it to make a point that it doesn't matter what happens for Indiana because they had just put up the numbers of 90% chance you're in with a win and 96% with a loss. So if that's the case, why play Curtis Rourke? Almost an over-the-top emphatic statement because there's zero chance any coach would do it, Kirk Cignetti being the very least of them, because they're on this historic season. Why would you want to stop now? And, you could no coach is going to go in thinking you're going to lose. You're thinking, let's go beat this team, beat Oregon, and try to win a Big Ten championship and get the first round bye. I mean, they're still the 5th ranked team in the country. So you're not thinking about point spreads. You're not thinking about benching people. You're thinking, how do I win this game? So I think it was more of an outside the box suggestion from Galloway. I'm not going to crush him. I just don't think there was much validity to any of it actually happening.
Well, he doubled down on it. He joined Reese Davis, and he used your school. He's like, look what happened to Florida State when Jordan Travis went down. They played him out of the play. It was a 14-team playoff, though. A 12-team playoff. Even if Rourke got hurt, I'm assuming Indiana would still make a 12-team playoff, right?
Yeah, so that's why I like him, because I do think he was using that to make a point about last year, because he was on my side saying Florida State's got screwed. So I think he was using
Kanell
it
was
for
going to
that.
rip him, so he had to invoke Florida State in the follow-up to get Danny Kanell back on his side. That's what I'm going with. I see right through that. You guys used to work with one another.
I like that. I like the way you're thinking.
Ole Miss and Florida. Florida had a big victory last week. I look at the spread. I see Ole Miss 11-point favorite. It makes me think that Ole Miss is going to blow them out. Last week, I thought Florida was going to be alive to win the game. Do you think Ole Miss could get upset this week by Florida?
Nope, I don't. I feel pretty good about Ole Miss in this situation. I actually called Florida for the upset last week. I thought that was a live dog, and sure enough, they won. I think LSU is one of the more overinflated teams in the SEC, and how much, every team gets this bump. Remember, Alabama went to Baton Rouge, smoked them, and it was like, oh, Alabama's fixed. I think Alabama's better, but I think that was more about LSU, a team that lost to USC to start the season. And yet they get this, when an SEC team beats them, it's this huge, massive win. Again, I think that was more about LSU having flaws, having issues, and how invested are they at this point in the season when they've fallen well short of their goals. I like DJ Lagway for the future for Florida. I just think he's going to go up against this Ole Miss defense, which has a bunch of NFL caliber talent on the defensive line. Princely Umanyilan, Walter Nolan. There's a couple defensive linemen that I think will be able to pressure him. And guess what? Ole Miss healthy after a bye. They've been rested. They've always had these injury reports, which Lane Kiffin loves to use to throw people off their scent. I mean, he lists like 30 guys. Some of them are legit injuries. But Trey Harris, their best receiver, there's rumors he could come back for this one. I think Ole Miss at full strength, I think they get it done pretty comfortably in the Swamp.
On the way out with Danny Kanell. Last week I looked at that Kansas line up against BYU, and I said it's only 2.5 points. BYU is the favorite. Kansas is going to win the game. This week I look at a line here late. A&M Auburn. A&M a 2.5-point favorite. I kind of feel like that's too good to be true. So I'm just going to go Auburn with the upset. Yourself?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I have to do too. You know what it really reminds me of? Like, you see these lines and they stink. You're like, what is going on? Like, how can this possibly be? I had that thought when Texas A&M went to South Carolina just a few weeks ago. Exact same number, 2.5-point favorite. I was all in on A&M. They had beaten Missouri, smoked them. They had a couple of good big wins. That Marcel Reed switched to quarterback. They have been incredibly volatile. I do think Marcel Reed is the better quarterback, but he struggled on the road. Auburn at night, best effort, it's kind of the season's coming down, so you're going to get their best. And, I mean, of course, we know Mike Elko where his mind is, right? I mean, he said it earlier this week that he is focused on Texas is what came out of his mouth. And then he clearly caught it and cleaned it up and said, no, I mean Auburn.
Yeah.
But they do have that massive rivalry renewed, which is going to have so much at stake. It's just human nature to kind of look ahead to that game. Auburn realizes it could be a signature win. So I'm with you. I don't love it. I'll probably avoid it, but I think if you were going to take a side, listen to the odds makers, take Auburn as the dog. And if you're going to take them, you might as well take them to win the game outright.
All righty, last thing I'll ask you. I know BYU Arizona State plays this weekend. We'll have the quarterback Sam Levitt on in about an hour from now. Who wins the Big 12 and who wins the ACC, in your opinion?
I'll go with Colorado. I think they're a team that will get to the playoff, but I think we're getting to that point where we're a little bit overhyped again. They've been awesome, but I think the point spread tells you something as well. Like, Kansas is a good football team, but the Big 12 is very evenly matched from top to bottom. And we did see Colorado earlier this season, a game you mentioned. They got to face a team from the Big Ten that both Indiana and Ohio State both beat. Indiana smoked Nebraska, and we saw Nebraska handle Colorado 28-10, and the score probably could have been bigger in Nebraska's favor. So I think Colorado wins the Big 12, but I don't think they're much of a threat to win games in the playoffs. But I am here for it because it will rate off the charts. They'll come in. The press conferences will be amazing, and there will be pressure on whatever opponent they play. You can't get beat by Colorado, but I do think they're a team that will win the Big 12. I don't think they're a true national championship contender. I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
And then how about the ACC? Who are you going with?
I'll go with Miami. I like, and this is an interesting one, Zach, something to keep an eye on. One thing we have not talked about, we've talked about the Big Ten getting multiple teams in, the SEC getting multiple teams in. What if you have two one-loss teams in SMU and Miami? And SMU's resume is really strong. Their only loss is to a BYU team, which at worst case would be 9-3. More likely that they're 10-2 around there. What if SMU Miami is a nail biter and it's a last-second field goal? Are you going to send one of the loser of that game home packing? I hate that optic. I hate it for every conference because
I think
that's
they
one
would,
of the
by
biggest
the way,
flaws.
to answer your question. I only think the ACC will get one in.
I think they will too, but I think it's wrong. That's my point, is I think it's wrong. I think that if you make it to your conference championship game, you should be rewarded. Like Joey Galloway had a point. I say if that's the case, just say your players are sick and you had COVID outbreak, skip the game, and then say, all right, well, you're going to let us go forward. Like I think it's one of those like principle ones where I don't think the teams that play and subject themselves to a conference championship game get penalized by a Notre Dame who doesn't play in a conference, hasn't had a great schedule. They just get a freebie to the playoffs. I think that's wrong.
You can check out BetOnline for updated college football playoff conference, Heisman, and college football week 13 lines. He's the always entertaining Danny Kanell. Danny, appreciate it. Thank you.
You got it, Zach.
All righty, there he is. Danny Kanell. Always love when he joins us on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will take a break. We'll come on back. I got a big problem with Joel Embiid. We will play you that Joey Galloway sound as well. And John Kuhn is going to join us coming up in exactly 22 minutes from now. Coming on back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
Yes, that is me, Zach Gelb. And yes, this is the Infinity Sports Network, and this portion of the extravaganza is sponsored by the new 2025 Hyundai Tucson Hybrid that has class-leading advanced safety features like the available blind spot view monitor to make your ride more enjoyable. All righty, let's start off with Joey Galloway. This was on the College Football Playoff Ranking Show on Tuesday night. He had a odd strategy advice for the Hoosiers of Indiana, who are getting set to play their biggest game that I could ever recall in my lifetime. This is Indiana football, not Indiana basketball, to be clear. But actually, you know what? Indiana's now a football school. We could say that. The basketball team's been so bad for so many years. But here is Joey Galloway on his odd advice for Indiana as they get set to go up against the world-famous Ohio State Buckeyes.
They can't go any higher.
They are behind a one-loss
They have a chance to go on the road and prove what they are. Now, honestly, if we believe in what our metrics are saying, if I'm Indiana, I don't know if I'm playing Rourke against Ohio State. We've seen what happened to Florida State last year, Jordan Travis. What could keep Indiana out of this? Getting their quarterback hurt. We've seen it happen to Florida State last year, having not played anybody.
Or losing by 30.
If you look at...
Here's why that's stupid, Stu. Do you think there's a chance... If, let's say, Indiana, I'll play this dumb game. Let's say if they didn't play Curtis Rourke, and let's say they lose by 4 touchdowns, what do you think is more likely? People's take the next day would be, Indiana should stay in the playoff race. They only lost 1 game, and they didn't have their starting quarterback. Or do you think the take is more likely, hey, Indiana doesn't belong. They just got boat raced by Ohio State, and they lost by 4 touchdowns. They shouldn't be one of the top 12 teams.
I think it'd be the latter. I mean,
right?
You saw it happen with Jordan Travis last year at Florida State, and he didn't play, and then it was just kind of like a snowball effect. There wasn't like, let's put him in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like it's a different playoff system, but it's still the same concept.
And evoking I know he did it, not you, but the Jordan Travis thing makes no sense to evoke here. Like, yes, they got left out in a 4-team playoff. It's now 12, and the quarterback got hurt, and they were down to their 3rd-string quarterback. So, yes, if in a 4-team format, I'm not saying Joey Galloway would be right for suggesting this because Indiana would have to win this game to get in the 4-team format. But in a 4-team format, sure, I understood why Florida State was kept out last year. But in a 12-team format, Florida State would have never been kept out. So using that to justify this dumb decision makes no sense to me. It's almost dumber than what you originally said. And here's the other part, too. You're Indiana. In all likelihood, here's a hot take of the day. My microphone's going to be sizzling after this. You're not probably going to win the national championship this year, right? You probably aren't going to do so. This is like your national championship going up against Ohio State. And when you have one of these magical seasons, and I've been a part of them, where a team comes out of nowhere, they're just dominating, it ruins all the growth of your program. If your coach, who is the antithesis of a putty cat, would make a putty cat type of decision and say, hey, we're going to sit down the quarterback to preserve our team's chances of making the playoffs because this game really means nothing to us. And also, guess what? If you win, you're in the Big Ten championship. And then you could go get a bye if you win the Big Ten championship. And they could still be the Big Ten championship either way, but it just doesn't make sense to me at all. It really doesn't. And let's play the clarification, because this is the part that even makes, no sense. It's even dumber. Here is Joey Galloway after having time to think about what he did and think about his sins and think about how he should be locked up in charge of football crimes for that suggestion that he had on the college football playoff show. That's where that was. Now, this is on College Game Day podcast with Reese Davis. Joey Galloway doubling down.
I'm being 100% serious. If I'm Indiana, I am considering not playing Curtis Rohr. I still feel that if you do play him, I would be super, if we could put him in a glass bottle and roll him out there. Let me ask you, if you're Indiana, which one is more important to you? Beating Ohio State or going to the playoff? Before you answer, if you could pick one, if you had to prioritize one over the other, which one would you say is a higher priority?
Huh? Your whole point is sit him down because if you lose with him, then what? People are going to say you don't belong, and if you don't play him, at least then it creates that intrigue so you still get in. But your analytics said either way, you get in, which that's the thing. I still don't know. I think Indiana gets in even if they lose this game. But Kevin Carter knows a lot of football was sitting to the right of me yesterday, and he said they have to keep it within a touchdown. He doesn't think it's a lock that they get in. And I heard Joey Galloway also say something. I used to be the guy that would used to rip kids for sitting out a bowl game. I've changed. That doesn't even make any sense. Ohio State misses out on a 14 playoff, and you tell them to sit out a bowl game that's irrelevant, like a New Year's Six bowl that's not one of the semifinals. Okay, I understand that. I understand why kids do that now. You may not like it, but I understand it. This idea that you would sit out a regular season game when if you win, you're then a lock to make the playoff and you're in the Big Ten. What are we doing? And that's your quarterback. And Cignetti's trying to build the program here. He's done a great job this year. They're undefeated. But everything that dude stands for, he'd be a fraud, and I would, quite frankly, I wouldn't let my kid play for him if he sat down Curtis Rourke in this game. I wouldn't. So I just don't get it. I don't. I thought that was dumb. You had time to think about it. And sometimes you should just say, hey, I said something stupid. I'm not saying you have to genuflect to the mob, but you could just say, hey, I said something stupid. You said something stupid, Joey Galloway. You were being stupid. And it's okay to be stupid, but then don't double down on your stupidity. And that's what you did. All right, I know I got to take a break, but this Joel Embiid stuff, you want to talk about someone that says something stupid. Joel Embiid said something really stupid. We'll get into that coming up later on in the show. Joel Embiid wants to be late. He gets called out for being late, and then that's another dude. Like how Joey Galloway doesn't get it, Joel Embiid also doesn't get it. But it's actually worse for Joel Embiid because he's in the locker room right now in Philadelphia. We'll get all of that coming up later in the show. When we come on back, got to do some NFL picks. We got to talk about the Green Bay Packers. Also got to talk about Aaron Rodgers. We'll do so with John Kuhn when he joins us next. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Week 12 opens tonight with a rivalry renewed. The Browns host the Steelers. One of those games where you can throw off the records, even if the Steelers are 8-2. The Browns are 2-8. Pittsburgh has more to lose, entering with a 5-game winning streak, and head coach Mike Tomlin says this is a critical stretch for his team.
Obviously, this next outing is a really significant one. When you have back-to-back division games, it is significant, but also to have back-to-back division games and the second one be on a short week on the road, man, that has our attention and urgency.
Steelers coming off a win on Sunday over the Ravens. The Browns have had success against the Steelers on Thursday night games home recently, winning twice in the last 5 years. Baseball's most valuable players will be announced tonight. The Dodgers' Shohei Ohtani, a heavy favorite after becoming the first 50-50 player in Major League history. The Mets' Francisco Lindor, the Diamondbacks' Kanell Marte are the other finalists. In the American League, it comes down to Aaron Judge and Bobby Witt. The Yankee star led the league in homers, RBIs, on-base percentage, slugging percentage, and OPS. Witt built on a breakout season by leading the majors with a .332 batting average, 32 homers, 31 steals, all while playing outstanding defense, too. Juan Soto, also a finalist. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Let's go out to the guest line right now and welcome in one of our favorites in John Kuhn, the former Packers fullback who does a great job on the Packers network as part of their analyst team, and he's kind enough to join us right now. We'll do some NFL picks with him, talk about the Packers with their big game up against the Niners, and also squeeze in a little Aaron Rodgers as well. John, appreciate the time. How you been?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Zach. Everything's good here midway through the football season. I love those two little patches you got on your shirt there with the Crown Royal and the bag. Question for you. How many of those Crown Royal bags do you have, and what all do you use them for? Because I use it for everything. Golf bags, carrying change, all kinds of stuff.
Well, they just sent me this jacket, and they also sent me one of the Crown Royal, obviously, bottles with the bag. So right now it's holding my alcohol. Eventually, though, it will probably hold my golf tees is what I would probably say.
Perfect.
All right, let's start you off with the Packers. In their 3 biggest games of the year, they lost to the Vikings, they lost to the Lions, they lost to the Eagles. They are still those 7-3. Big one this weekend up against the 49ers, which they could potentially put the nail in the coffin on the 49ers season. What do you make of the Packers' first 10 games so far?
Yeah, a lot of it is revolved around Jordan Love. Obviously, wondering what the sophomore season for Jordan Love as a starter is going to bring. We saw the last 8 games of last season, how spectacular he was. 19 touchdowns to 1 interception. Hasn't been that way for this start of this season. Jordan Love turnovers, interceptions especially, even though he's missed some games and had a bye. I think he's among the league leaders in interceptions. That's the bad of it. And that's what's kind of holding the Green Bay Packers back from being able to take that next step and beating an Eagles team, beating a Lions team, or beating a Vikings team. The 3 losses that you mentioned right there. It's going to take a lot of him playing exceptionally for this team to make a deep run in the playoffs, but doing what they have to do to ensure they do get to the playoffs. Now, sitting in that 6th seed, it's not a bad spot to be through 11 weeks of an NFL season. I know they're happy about that, especially considering you don't want to be playing your best football right now. You want to be playing it in another month or 2, and that's what they're going to aim towards doing.
He reminds me a lot like Brett Favre, and I think he needs to be a little bit more like Aaron Rodgers. And what I mean by that, in terms of protecting the football, do those comparisons pop up a lot, I'm assuming, just with him being in Green Bay?
Potentially it does. And I've heard a lot of people make that comparison. He's a little bit too much Brett Favre than Aaron Rodgers. Well, then I'd like to remind people, well, Brett made it to 2 Super Bowls and he won 1, and he won, several MVPs as well. So if he's either one of them,
it's a good problem.
Yes, we are immensely happy. But what I think you find now in today's NFL is to be passive, to be cautious, to be just protecting the football. That might not be enough in today's NFL. There might have been a time when that worked at the quarterback position, but I think now you do need to be aggressive. You do need to take shots. Defenses have definitely made the evolution around to, we're going to take away the big plays. We're going to take away the pass game. We're going to make teams run on us. If you look around the NFL, a lot of teams running the football better than in years past. Scoring is still down. That's because defenses have really changed themselves to stop the pass. So I think if you are going to pass, if you are going to be one of these really good teams, you're going to have to take chances. And with that comes the interceptions. Got to shore that up when playoff season comes along. But I think that's been what you've been seeing out of the Packers so far.
What do you think will decide this game coming up on Sunday? Because the Niners, to me, there's a legitimate chance they miss the playoffs. I only think one NFC West team is getting in. Packers should be a wild card. Vikings should be a wild card. And I think the Eagles win the division, so the Commanders would then be a wild card. But what are your thoughts on this one? Green Bay and the 49ers with a big game for both teams, but it seems like a bigger game for the Niners.
It's a bigger game for the Niners, absolutely, in that aspect. You can't go below 500 at this point in time, hope to make a run to fall back into a 6th or 7th seed. The Green Bay Packers right now, it's equally as big for them, in my opinion. You're talking about the Packers who are kind of sitting there at that 6th seed right now. They're potentially that 7th seed if they would lose to the 49ers. So you're talking about one of the first teams in versus one of the first teams out here in this playoff hunt. You can really create a separation, a void there between who is in the in and who is in the out.
And even with the Niners being down, this would still be a statement victory for the Packers.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I think what it comes down to is physicality, right? In years past, the 49ers have had the Packers number in the playoffs, and a lot of that was due to their physical nature. Dre Greenlaw not being back has definitely put a hamper to that defense and their physicality on the second level. I don't think Devondre Campbell has fit into that role and really ran with it the way that Drew Greenlaw did. And then I think that Nick Bosa being hurt is a big problem for them. So if they're not as physical as they have been in years past, this might be an opportunity for the Packers to really run away with this thing.
All right, let me get your thoughts on your old buddy, your pal Aaron Rodgers, as John Kuhn is here with us. We've all seen the report in The Athletic from Zach Rosenblatt and Diana Rossini that Woody Johnson was advocating to get Aaron benched back in after week 4 when they were 2-2 and lost to the Broncos. What did you make of that one when you read that story?
Well, it's a hot mess express right now up in New York. I mean, when you look around the NFL, we used to say there's about, a dozen teams every year that before you even kick off the football in week 1, they have a shot. And that's because organizationally, they're just run properly, right? They have great ownership, they have great leadership, and they kind of really take care of all the little things in-house and don't let it escape. And, when you have a quarterback who's 41 years old, about to be 41 years old, he's coming off an Achilles injury. It's going to take more than 4 regular season weeks to know what he is capable of doing. It's going to take some time. It takes time for any player to adjust into a season, especially with the way preseasons are now. So to think that a 40-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles, missing an entire year of football, is going to be able to show you in the first 4 weeks what he's capable of, that's foolish. Then you fire his head coach, promote his defensive coordinator, you weaken 2 positions at the same time. I mean, I don't know what Woody Johnson is expecting out of this football team, but the more you make moves, the less patience you have, the less chance you really have of getting any type of continuity and any type of fluidity in the way that you do things around there. So I'm not surprised to say how bad this thing has gone based off the moves they have made during this season.
Should he come back next year? Like, if I'm Aaron, the owner doesn't want you. That was clear. All right, so you're going to try to go to another team. Your play has been declining. I know the injury is a big factor, but he's 41 now. Like, call it a career, wrap it up, and go home and retire, right?
Well, it all depends. And I've had people ask me, how does this affect his legacy? I don't think this affects his legacy whatsoever. I think as you think of Aaron Rodgers, you're going to think of Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers, and then Aaron Rodgers, New York Jets. And you're going to say, man, that Jet thing, that was a disaster. That was a disaster. But Aaron, as a Green Bay Packer, pretty exceptional with all those MVPs, the Super Bowl MVP, all those great teams that have gone deep on playoff runs. And I think that's the way his legacy is going to be remembered. So to that effect, you think, what if he did write one more chapter? And what if that one chapter was with another team and it was kind of a poor season? Well, that would just add on to that disaster of the 2 years in New York. But if you did write an extra chapter and it was some sort of comeback song and he did bring some team to a playoff berth, well, that might be pretty cool. And that might change the way we feel about that second little legacy that he has there post Green Bay Packers.
Is there a team that comes to mind? Because, you would be shocked if he's back with the Jets next year, right?
I would be. And, is there a team that comes to mind? Not really. You're trying to think of a team that is pretty close to being a playoff team, if not already a playoff team, who doesn't have the answer at quarterback, but is drafting far enough back in the draft that they're not going to get their answer in the draft. I don't know who that would be unless you are, let's say, the Minnesota Vikings and something happens to Sam Darnold down the stretch, unknown on J.J. McCarthy. Team is pretty darn good. Aaron Rodgers in a dome, not outdoors at 40 years old. Maybe that would work.
It's
Maybe
far
it goes
all
right
over
there.
again.
I just, but just looking at the teams right now, I don't think there's one that really pops up that you say, ooh, that's the place where it does work.
And I did this yesterday. I was like, I talked about maybe the Colts, maybe the Raiders. That's why I just say retire. Like it's time to just retire if you're Aaron Rodgers, John.
Yeah, but it's hard to do when you're in that position. Zach, I'll tell you, my mindset was I was going to play in the NFL until they kicked me out of that club. And they did after 13 years. And you know what? I wasted every ounce of what I had physically. And I go back and watch some of the film, even of my last year in New Orleans, and I think to myself, goodness gracious, they let me get on the football field like that. But when you're in it, it's hard to say goodbye. It really is. And if you were blessed as like an Aaron Rodgers or like a Peyton Manning or a Drew Brees, God bless you. Play as long as your heart lets you.
All righty, let's get to some NFL picks. John Kuhn here with us on the Zach Gelb Show.
It's time for NFL picks on the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, John Kuhn here with us. We'll get to the picks right now. John, we'll do 3 picks each. I'll start you off first. What's the first game that you want to go with?
I like the Lions. I don't know what lines you have. I got -7.5 at Indianapolis. And, you know, Richardson's going to come back and play some quarterback for the Colts. That gives them a dynamic. And I understand Alex Anzalone's injury is a big injury to their defense. He's a huge leader. They haven't dropped off much from Aiden Hutchinson's injury, so I'm sure they'll be able to rally around Anzalone's injury as well. And they are just so explosive on offense. I don't think 7.5 is a whole lot for the league's best offense, most explosive offense right now, to be able to cover on a team that's bringing a quarterback back who knows who wants to play for a guy who really tapped out of a game just, a couple weeks ago.
All right, I'm actually on the same game as you. I'm taking the Lions laying 7 as well. They've just been blowing out everyone, like you said. And even though Anthony Richardson had some success up against the Jets last week, I think this is another big beatdown for the Detroit Lions. What's the next game that you're going to go with?
I like the Cardinals. It's a 0.5 point or a pick'em game, depending on where you look. Listen, the Cardinals are coming off a bye, and Seattle just got done playing a tough, physical game against the 49ers inside the division. There used to be a thing when you played the 49ers, the next week you lost. No matter who you played, you lost. You play the 49ers, doesn't matter if you win, doesn't matter if you lose your next one as well. I don't know if that holds up anymore, but I still think the physicality of that football game is going to hold its weight in this football game, especially with the Cardinals team coming off a bye. I love Kyler Murray and Drew Petzig's offensive scheme. He's under center more. He's rolling out. He's getting out of the pocket. I'm taking the Cardinals in essentially a pick'em game.
It's funny. I was thinking about taking the Cardinals as well. I had them jotted down, and then I said, you know what, I'm going to swap them out just because you never know how those NFC West games are going to go down. I'm going to go with the team that's also a road favorite and piggyback off my first pick. I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings laying 3.5 up against the Bears. The Bears are just a disaster right now. The way that they lost the game last week, I think you'll kind of see this team start to tap out. I expect Minnesota to kind of get right this week and have more of a dominant performance. I like Minnesota laying 3.5 in Chicago. Your final pick, John?
Well, it's funny because there's a lot of road favorites this week, but that's because there's a lot of good teams on the road. I'm going to pick the Eagles -3 at LA against the Rams. I like it. I don't love it just because you got Stafford, you got Puka, you got Cooper, and they're kind of doing their thing out there in LA. But the Eagles defense, especially their secondary, has been playing very, very well as of late. And I can't go against Saquon because I said in the offseason he was the most valuable free agent or change of any team. It looks to be that way with him in Philadelphia. I like the Eagles -3.
And then my final pick, and this is a rare spot because we're doing a Football Friday on a Thursday, so I never get to pick the Thursday night game in this record. I'm actually going with the Steelers tonight, laying 3.5. The line seems a little bit fishy right now. Jameis is going to throw the ball a ton tonight, probably get picked off a few times. I'm just not betting against TJ Watt right now and Mike Tomlin, so give me the Steelers laying 3.5 points. So my picks for this week, Steelers laying 3.5, Lions laying 7, and the Vikings laying 3.5. 2.5, and John goes with the Lions laying 7, the Cardinals laying 1, and the Eagles laying 3. John Kuhn, happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate the time. By the way, are you a turkey guy on Thanksgiving? Because I hate turkey. We just love lasagna in my household.
What is your deal, man?
Turkey's overrated.
I love you, Zach, but turkey's not overrated. You can fry a turkey. You can do Cajun turkey. You can just bake a turkey in the oven, but that's boring. I mean, you can smoke a turkey. You can do it so many different ways. Turkey for Thanksgiving, my friend.
It's because you're a sucker. You've just been programming your entire life. You got to do turkey, so you think turkey's great.
I am a fullback. I get in that line and I go straight. Okay.
Thanks so much, John.
You got it, Zach.
There he is, John Kuhn joining us. And this portion of the show was brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam and just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Hey, Stu, this is just registered with me. So all these years, I've led this charge. And when you are just pounding the crap out of the opposition, it's just expected. So, I haven't been that vocal this year about Turkey just being horrible and being overrated because I've already won the battle. I've won the war. It's over. And I am the voice for the voiceless that continue to sit there in silence, and they're afraid to be outspoken and say, hey, the turkey is overrated. But I'll have a new angle here, and I've never thought about this until now, until I just saw you and after I wrapped up with John Kuhn. If I had to compare Turkey to a quarterback, it's Derek Carr. It's there. You don't want it to be there. You may think it's good, but in reality, it's just not. And there's a lot more left out there that there's better options to have a better Thanksgiving. Like lasagna is Patrick Mahomes. Lasagna is Tom Brady. Turkey? It's Derek Carr. That's what it is. Turkey's like, all right, we think it's the guy. We were told it's the guy. Gobble, gobble, nope. You know that it's just going to be a disappointing experience. But you'll put it on your plate, you'll pretend like you like it, and in reality, when it's over, you just say, thank God we survived. Turkey Stew is your boy, Derek Carr. All righty, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. You will hear from Stuart Kovacs coming up in a few minutes. You will hear from me, more of me, coming up in a few minutes. Who are the 5 coaches in college football, if you were a recruit, that you would want to play for? We get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
All righty, hour number 3 of our radio program. Final busy Thursday, final hour 3. Zach Gelb, what the heck am I trying to say? It's the last show of the week. All right, I'm off tomorrow. So it's 60 more minutes of radio that we got to entertain you. All righty. Man, that was a tongue twister for some reason. We're going to be joined by the Arizona State quarterback, Sam Levitt, coming up 20 minutes from now. So looking forward to that conversation. Big game this weekend. The Sun Devils up against the BYU Cougars. I got to get to this Joel Embiid stuff. So we talked about this the other day. There's a report that comes out that the Sixers had a team meeting. Tyrese Maxey criticized Joel Embiid and said, we need you to stop being late to everything. Let me just say this. When I lived in Philadelphia, and that was at the start of Joel Embiid's career, I love Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, at a time, used to be what like every city would want. Just like a big kid on the basketball court, fun dude, great personality, and just loved the city. And I thought he really understood the city of Philadelphia, where when you're great, there's nothing like it. But when you're bad, they're going to boo the crap out of you because the fans are holding you accountable because they expect better. And what Joel Embiid has turned into the last few years, it's quite frankly just disgraceful. Where I get it, he won the MVP, but the MVP, winning it is an accomplishment. Duh. But it was celebrated in Philadelphia as if they won a championship because the fans knew down deep that team had zero chance at Joel Embiid to win a championship. And here are the facts about Joel Embiid. He's always out of shape. He's always late. He doesn't give it his all. And in the big moments, he crumbles. And it's one thing to not win a championship, but even when you're an MVP and you could be better and your biggest problem is yourself and you make 4,000 excuses, that's someone I just can't root for. And he made some dirty plays last year in the playoffs. But this dude now thinks he's above everybody and he's above criticism. So when it comes out that this meeting happened, and then Tyrese Maxey, who give him credit, younger player, the next, probably the face of the Sixers franchise, where I know it's Embiid, but Embiid's going to eventually just be a wuss and force a trade. There's no doubt about it in my mind. And Paul George, he got hurt. Tell me another day that ends in Y. So you look at this future of the Sixers, it's really Tyrese Maxey who's your building block for the future. Because the Embiid ship of winning a championship, if you still believe that it's there, please, I got a bridge that I could tell you after the show. Just meet me at our studios, and I'll take you to it. Just bring the bag of cash. You'll give me the cash, and I'll show you where it is. But, what are we doing here? So Embiid gets blasted. Not blasted, to be fair. One of his teammates is just honest with him. And he says, dude, we need you to be on time to things. When you're late, it's detrimental to the team. So, of course, the Philadelphia media is going to approach Joel Embiid on this. And Joel Embiid said, whoever leaked this is a real piece of bleep. So think about that. You are the franchise player. You are the MVP, but you're being lazy. You're acting like a brat. And one of your younger teammates who's really good, who right now is you're Robin and you're the Batman, but he'll probably be Batman in a few years, Tyrese Maxey. He's the only one with the cojones on that team to say, hey, Joe, it's time for you to show up on time. And Embiid's response isn't, you know what, that was an eye-opening experience. Hey, I was wrong. Even if he did say some of that stuff, you cannot say whoever leaked that is a real piece of bleep. You want to know why that gets leaked, Joel Embiid? Because people don't think you're going to change, so they want it out there. So maybe it puts some pressure on you to actually show up. Because if you're Joel Embiid, you're above everybody. Maxey could say, hey, show up, and you could be like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And then you don't show up, and you're constantly late. But when it gets out there, then it becomes a story. So I'm okay with that story getting leaked. But Stu, you know who Joel Embiid really reminds me of right now? James Harden. Think about it. James Harden won an MVP. Joel Embiid won an MVP. Neither will ever win an NBA championship. Both are lazy. Both could be better. Both are constantly out of shape. And when things go the wrong way, they blame everybody but themselves. And they make excuse after excuse after excuse. James Harden is lame. And it pains me to say this because I really used to like this guy when I was in Philly early on during his career. Fun personality. Everything I thought Joel Embiid was ended up being a lie. The dude's a fraud now. He is. And he's James Harden. He cared more about winning an MVP than an NBA championship. So go force your trade. Go leave Philadelphia. Go to some place that will constantly always allow you to show up late. constantly not be there when the team needs you the most, be out of shape, and go make 4,000 other excuses. And you'll make the Hall of Fame one day, right? It's very easy to make the Naismith Memorial Hall of Fame. Just like James Harden's going to make the Hall of Fame. And we're all going to say, MVP. But whenever we do these lists of great basketball players to never win a championship, you're going to be on that list. So keep on showing up late. And I cannot wait for Inside the NBA. Because Shaq, he's sometimes above the law, but here's the difference. When you got rings and you could win and do it that way, you could do whatever you want. When you don't got a ring and you act like you're an 8-time champion with 7 MVPs, please. It's just an absolute joke. Here is Richard Jefferson. This was on the ESPN on the Sixers calling out Joel, the terrible process, Embiid.
I've been in enough organizations where it becomes very, very sad where the children are asked to adult the parents. That's the problem. When I see a young player, yes, he got his bag, but when he's saying, hey, the reason why I wanted to be here is because of you. I never saw that with Tim Duncan. I never saw that with Dirk Nowitzki. I never saw that with Jason Kidd. I never saw that with LeBron James. We can keep going down the list of line. I have never seen a player as great as this, as a Joel Embiid, have to be called out by some of the youngest players in his camp, in his roster. And I've seen it in organizations where the babies are asked to parent the adults, and that's what you see in this conversation.
And sometimes the people that are the youngest know best, and that's a situation right here. Embiid's. I'll ask you this, Stu. Is Joel Embiid the least likable player right now in the NBA? You think he's the most hated player in the NBA? There's only one other name I could think of.
I think Westbrook is still up there. I know he's not a star anymore.
Isn't he irrelevant, though?
Yeah, that's the problem, is that he's kind of just like a role player at this stage.
Here's the other name, Draymond.
Yeah.
But at least Draymond does a lot of stupid stuff. And I know he wasn't the number one ever on a championship team, but at least he's got some rings. And, I could at least find Draymond somewhat entertaining. Embiid, it's just not that funny anymore. All right? Like, guy's become a clown. He really has been. All righty, let's do this. Off Coach Prime getting the number 2 player in the nation today. And Deion looking like he's going to stay at Colorado. And I'm loving this Coach Prime story. Give me 5 coaches that if you were a recruit right now, Stu, that you would love to play for. Who are the 5?
Okay. Deion Sanders, I think, is an obvious choice. I just think what he's done in those 2 years at Colorado, just amazing. Fun to play for. Has developed some talent at the quarterback and receiver position. Another one is Kalen DeBoer. Again, what he did at Washington was sensational. You could see at Alabama, there are signs of some promise. They're going to probably be a team that's going to be great for many years here. Lane Kiffin, I hated him as the Raiders coach, but I think he's matured a little. He's fun, develops players. Again, I like Lane Kiffin. Dan Lanning's another one. I just think he's a tremendous college coach. Wow. So he's up there. You can see what he's done going to a new conference hasn't mattered. And I'll put Marcus Freeman up there. I think Marcus Freeman is a player's coach, and he's someone I would like to play for. Until they lose to USC in 2 weeks, and then he'll be off the list.
You have played into what I wanted to do perfectly here.
Awesome.
Because I have 4 out of the 5 coaches that you just named also on my list. But when I was thinking about this and I asked you to pick 5, I was really hoping that you weren't going to pick Marcus Freeman. And let me be clear. The question is 5 coaches that you would want to play for. So if you know Stu is a Notre Dame hunk. You could have had the worst coach you could have had Charlie Weiss coach at Notre Dame, and Stu would still want to say, that Charlie Weiss, he's entertaining. I would love to play for him. But if you didn't pick Charlie Weiss, or Marcus Freeman in this case, at Notre Dame, I was about to call you a fraud. Like I just called Embiid a fraud because you're a Notre Dame fan, And you probably want to have that moment like Rudy had where the fans are chanting, Stewie, 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 Stewie. That's what I was envisioning. So I am very, very proud today that you put Marcus Freeman there because I thought you were going to leave off Notre Dame and then it would have been a good bit that we could have had, and we could have had some fun at your expense. So I had Coach Prime as well, and I think that would be number one. I had Dan Lanning, I had Lane Kiffin, and I had Kalen DeBoer. Do you think you could guess? I'll give you 3 guesses. You could ask me any question you would like in order to give you a hint if you think you need a hint.
Okay.
Okay. So it's the last coach that you did not name that I had different than your list, because we were 4 for 4 outside of the final one.
Okay, so I can ask you any question here, right?
Yeah.
Is the guy coaching the Big Ten?
He is not. He is not the coach of the Big Ten. What, you thought it was Rule?
Yes.
Okay. It is not a coach in the Big Ten.
No, actually, I thought it was James Franklin. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, this is not which coach would you never want to speak to.
Right.
Yeah, so it is not a coach in the Big Ten.
Okay, SEC.
It is a coach in the SEC.
Is it Sark?
It is not Steve Sarkisian. Good guess. I thought about Sark. I thought about Kurt Signetti. But the only thing that concerns me about Kurt Signetti, it's happening right now. It's the first year at Indiana. I think I need to see a little bit more of him at a bigger program, even though Indiana's not this huge program. But I'm liking Kurt Signetti. So it's not Sark.
Okay, so I'm 0 for 1. Is it Kirby just because of the winning and just how dominant he is?
It is not Kirby. I don't want Kirby calling me stupid if I start jumping up and down with the enemy or something like that. And also, we could clean up on the discipline as well in the Georgia program, too. I think this one's going to surprise a lot of people. But I really like this guy sometimes.
Oh, is it Josh Heupel?
It is not Josh
Wow.
Heupel. But I did think about Josh Heupel. This guy is often, people either love him or they think he's corny. People either love him or they think he's a fake tough guy. But he's done a great job on social media. He comes from football royalty. He is an energetic coach, and he's having a really good season this year.
Oh, it's Mr. Beamer at South
Yes.
Carolina. That's a good one. That's
It's
a good
Shane
one.
Beamer, where I could be a star at a school that's still in the SEC, but it's not in the powerhouse of the SEC schools. And he's a coach that, right, with the Fantasia thing, with social media, he always has those funny entrances. He just seems like a real fun coach to be around. So the 5 coaches right now that I most want to play for in college football: Coach Prime, Dan Lanning, Lane Kiffin, Shane Beamer, and then also Kalen DeBoer. All righty. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. At Zach Gelb on Twitter and Instagram. Arizona State. They have a big game this weekend up against BYU. Arizona State could still make the Big 12 championship game. Sam Levitt, their quarterback's going to join us on the other side. We're looking forward to catching up and spending a few moments with Sam. We'll do so when we come on back in 5 minutes. But first, football season is in full swing. Take full advantage by winning some cash with Sleeper Picks. Sleeper Picks is a fantasy game, but you can win real money. Just pick more or less than at least 2 of your favorite player stats. If you're right, you could win. You could pick up to 8 players, win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Sleeper has a special offer. New users will have their first deposit match up to $1,500. So if you deposit $1,500, they'll give you an extra $1,500 in credit. If you've already played, Sleeper's got discounted player projections every week of the season. Check in and see what they have this week. Download the Sleeper app now and use promo code SCORE, and your first deposit will be matched 100% up to $1,500 in credit. What are you waiting for? Download Sleeper today and unlock one of the fastest-growing fantasy sports apps in the world. Use code SCORE for up to $1,500 credit match on your first deposit. That's code SCORE. Must be at least 18 years old in most states and in state where it is legal. Promo code, location, and other restrictions apply. See terms of use for details at sleeper.com. Please play responsibly. Call 1-800-426-2537 for help. Sponsored by Sleeper, a Blitz product.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Alrighty, rocking and rolling. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Going to be a great game this weekend coming up on Saturday in Big 12 football play between Arizona State and BYU. You can watch the game at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. And now joining us is the quarterback of the Arizona State Sun Devils, and that's Sam Levitt, kind enough to jump on board the Zach Gelb Show. Sam, congratulations on all your success. Appreciate the time. How you been?
Oh, yeah, appreciate it, bro. I'm doing really good. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing fantastic. So for you the last 3 weeks, you have 9 touchdowns, no interceptions. Just what's really clicked with your game out of the last 3 weeks?
Just understanding the offense, and exactly what we're trying to get accomplished and, situational ball better and getting to my third and fourth read and my checkdowns and protection. So, everything's just starting to click and come together.
This team is now 8-2. You guys got a chance to win the conference and go to the college football playoff. You have an enormous game, as you know, on Saturday up against BYU. But I'm curious, in this offseason, right, you transfer in, you're coming over from Michigan State, you're competing for the QB job. What did you think this team was capable of doing maybe in the summer, in the offseason when you guys were putting in the work?
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily thinking so much exactly what we were capable of. I was just trying to, get a starting job, But then, playing throughout the fall camp and stuff like that, I got to understand just how down of a team we are. And then, going throughout the weeks, just getting more and more in trust within the team. And it's just continuing to grow.
And what you guys saw last weekend, you guys were up at 1.24-0 up against a really good Kansas State team. I know you guys have been hot as of late, but what does a win like that and how you guys did it in dominant fashion, getting off to that big start, really do for this team's confidence?
It was really good for us to be able to do that on the road, especially, having some struggles at Texas Tech and at Cincinnati. Obviously, I wasn't there for that game. But it was good for us to go in there and, play a top 16 team and go get on the jump fast and be really productive offensively and defensively in the first half.
Talking to Sam Levitt right now. Huge game this weekend in college football. Arizona State up against BYU. Take me through your story a little bit and how you landed at Arizona State when you were making that decision to transfer.
Yeah, so I played at Michigan State, played in 4 games. I had a little bit of film, which was, I got to show some flashes of some of my skills. But when I hit the portal, had a bunch of schools reach out, went on some visits, and, ultimately when I came out here, it just seemed too good to be true, being with Marcus Rowe and Coach Dillingham, being in this situation and the success that they've had with their quarterbacks in the past. So just ultimately it was what's my best path for the NFL. So when I came out here and, sat down with them and I got to really understand how we're going to work as an offense and how they're going to develop me, it just sounded like the best option.
If someone has never met Coach Kenny Dillingham, how would you kind of surprise him? Describe him, just wondering.
I would say he's really, really enthusiastic, and he's a real person, so he's going to tell you what it is, even if you don't want to hear it, But he's great people and always brings the juice.
Talking to Sam Levitt right now on the Zach Gelb Show. Huge game this weekend for Arizona State. If someone's never seen your game, how would you describe the game of one Sam Levitt?
I'd say I'm a pocket passer who has to extend plays when they need to, and I'm going to make some fun, exciting plays with my arm and with my legs, and you'll see me checking stuff at the line of scrimmage and commanding the offense.
Now, I know you said earlier in this conversation when you first got to Arizona State, you were just thinking about winning the job, and then you realized how good this team could be. Did you always have this belief that you could be this quarterback that we have seen not only throughout this season, but really as of late?
Yeah, I've always had that belief ever since I was, a sophomore in high school. Always getting recruited, or I was under-recruited, and always had belief in myself, always trying to put myself out there, and then constantly just growing and trying to get better every single day. And, so I feel like I've always believed that I can be the best in the nation, and, ultimately my end goal is, which a lot of people's are, to be, the first overall pick and stuff like that. And, that's been my goal since day one. So I've always had that belief in myself.
So how much work do you think needs to be put in for us to see the full version of Sam Levitt? Like, how close do you think you are from showing that? Because this year's been impressive, but I'd imagine there's still a ways to go, right?
Yeah, this season, you're only going to see what I've been able to accomplish from now. And then next season we're going to dive back into it and just keep getting better. And, I'm just going to come back to work even harder. And now that I've been in the system for a year, it's going to be night and day next year. From now, like it's been later in the season since beginning in the season.
What kind of football fan were you growing up? Just wondered. Who were some quarterbacks that you really like, Sam Levitt?
I really like watching Aaron Rodgers, and then lately Joe Burrow and Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, obviously, and then everybody likes Tom Brady. But I watch a lot of mechanical stuff from them, and just different ways that people extend plays, and their favorite ways to command a game. Aaron Rodgers with his arm slots and does such a great job with his fake cadence and, throwing back shoulders and free access balls and stuff like that. And then Joe Burrow, just how he, finds space within the pocket. Seems like he's a magician in there. So I try to take bits and pieces from everybody and, correlate it to my game.
When we look at some of your teammates, Cam Scatterbo, I know he's been there for a while, right? And he's been unbelievable, and he has so much success in college football. What is it like to be a teammate of his?
Oh, it's incredible, to be around someone of that caliber and, just be there every single day, see how he works and his mind. I don't think people really understand how smart he is, and how much he really thinks about the game. And so it's pretty special to be there in the backfield with him.
And then one of your receivers, Jordan Tyson, has 58 receptions on the season, 833 yards and 9 touchdowns. I know he was at Colorado a few years ago, now with you guys at Arizona State. How are you guys able to develop this chemistry and have it really take off so quickly?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a secret recipe. It's kind of just you find certain people you click with on the field. And, I'm a big player that feels out the game really well in space and stuff like that, and he's the same. So he's incredible. And then you add that with his physical ability, and it makes a pretty special player.
Yeah, I know Joe Burrow a little bit, by the way. I got a chance to spend a few days with him during his Heisman Trophy winning season. You sound like Joe Burrow. Has anyone ever told you that?
Like my voice sounds like him?
Yeah, your voice sounds like him. Like, I think I'm talking to Joe Burrow right now, if I'm being honest, Sam Levitt.
No, I have not heard that.
All righty. Well, how about BYU? Big game. Everyone's going to be watching this one. We know what's on the line here. Just kind of give me your thoughts about BYU and their really good program.
Yeah, they've been able to put together a really good season and, come out with some big-time wins and some close games, which is, a testament to their coaching staff and their culture and stuff like that. So it's going to be a tough team who's physical and has really good disguises. So I'm really excited to see what we can do.
Was there a game for you guys this year that when you look back at it, you said, okay, we know we're a good team, but now we know we could be a great team? Have you guys had that game yet? Just wondering.
I don't know if we've had one specific game because every single week we just take it game to game. Mississippi State, we're like, if we just beat the SEC team, and then Utah is if we just beat Utah, and then it was just if we beat K-State, and now it's if we beat Utah or BYU, so it's kind of just, it's pretty week to week, so it's pretty funny.
And then for people, right, they look at the Big 12, they go, all right, it's going to be Colorado, it's going to be BYU, one of those schools will win the Big 12, and I still feel like you guys aren't getting that national respect. What do you say to people that are still doubting you and your football team?
Tune in this Saturday and see what it is. That's all I got to say.
I absolutely love that answer. Well, hey, Sam, appreciate you carving out some time for us today. Thanks so much, and good luck coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, I appreciate it, bro. Have a good one.
You got it. There he is, Sam Levitt, joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. I'm telling you, Stu, that sounded just like Joe Burrow. His voice, it was, especially when he broed me, too, which I don't mind. But he sounds like Joe Burrow.
I didn't notice it, and then when you said it, and then he started talking again, yeah, it does sound like Burrow. Yeah, he definitely sounds like Burrow.
And when I was around Burrow for a little bit during that Heisman Trophy winning season, someone asked me to describe him. And I just said, there's just a cool, kind of calm, quiet confidence and swagger to him. There was just an aura where it wasn't obnoxious, but you knew that dude knew he was the man and nothing could get in his way of having success. Now, I'm not saying that's Sam Levitt, but I did kind of get a little bit of that sense talking to him that he's confident, right, as you got to be when you're a quarterback. You got to be an alpha. But the moment he said, I watched a lot of Burrow, for some reason, all I could think about was it sounded like we were talking to Joe Burrow in that conversation. So I'm not saying he's going to go on to be Joe Burrow, but heck, Joe Burrow believed in himself and no one believed. And remember, he was coming over from Ohio State, played that first year at LSU, and we would talk about the running back, Nick Brossette, more than Joe Burrow. And then the next year, that's when Joe Burrow became Joe Burrow. Like going into that year, I don't even remember whatever the draft projection was for. No one had talked about Joe Burrow. It was like, oh, yeah, he's the quarterback at LSU. And I got some talent on that team. But maybe like his family would project him to be a 5th-round pick then. And he ended up winning the Heisman, one of the greatest college teams of all time, undefeated, and then became the number 1 pick of the draft. And I like that. When that kid comes on, he's like, my goal is to be the number 1 pick of the NFL draft. I thought that was pretty damn cool. So we'll see what's going to happen with BYU up against Arizona State this upcoming weekend. That's a game I'm very excited for this weekend at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. My mom just had a hip replacement, and my sister is having my niece's second birthday, Raquel, but they're having like a girl-only birthday. So I'm going home this weekend to not go to the party because I wasn't invited, but I was going to see my mom who just had hip replacement surgery, and she's doing well. And she goes, I think I'm going to try to go Saturday to the birthday party. And I'm like, Mom, you're nuts. You just had hip replacement surgery. She's like, it's my granddaughter, though. How did I not go? I go, you just had hip replacement surgery. And like, literally on Tuesday. So how the heck do you think you're going to go to this? She goes, oh, can you drive me? Your dad is doing something. I'm like, on Saturday in the middle of the afternoon, Mom? You know, we got college football on. Arizona State, by the way. They got the 3 points at home. They're a 3-point favorite up against BYU. So let's see what that 12 o'clock window is. And you got Indiana, Ohio State. You know, you got Florida, Ole Miss. I got to maybe I may call the doctor and tell the doc, hey, you got to call my mom and say it's not okay for her to go to this birthday party. You know, that's what I'm going to try to do because I got to watch the college football. Stu, are you going to Army-Navy, by the way? I mean, Army Notre Dame. I know we're going to Army-Navy as a show.
I don't think so. I don't like the prices. It's not like the Navy game. I think just because it's a smaller stadium. Yeah. I don't know. And I'm also, there's a lot going on because it's birthday weekend.
It's your birthday tomorrow, by the way. Happy birthday, everybody, to Stu Kovacs. I am off tomorrow. That's Stu's birthday present for me. I'm not going to be here. He doesn't have to deal with me. But a happy birthday to Stu Kovacs, who's turning 33?
3, yes.
33.
Yeah, 33.
Act, did you know that it was Stu's birthday tomorrow?
I did. I thought he was 31, though.
Oh, really?
No.
Yeah, I'm off by a couple of years.
Wow. And Act knows everybody's birthday.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, Act, you just have this ability to know everybody's birthday. It's wild.
You write them down.
Yeah, you write them down. Do you have a spreadsheet?
No.
You have Facebook?
No, you commit them to memory. That's all.
Okay. So you have a lot of other obligations.
Like lunch and stuff. But if I see something, late in the afternoon, because the game's at 7, if I see something late in the afternoon that's reasonable, I'll think about it. It's also hard. It's at Yankee Stadium, which isn't a great football stadium to watch a game. So.
Yeah, you know what? When they do the football games at a
tough.
baseball stadium, I was looking at the seating chart, and I'm like, they're really not that. How the field's angled, there's not that many good seats.
Honestly, the bleachers might be the best spot, but you're in bleachers, so
that would be end zone right view, but it'd be elevated a little bit.
It would be more like kind of midfield.
Oh yeah,
on one
you're
side.
right because of the angle,
the way they angle the field at Yankee Stadium. Yeah.
So like left field bleachers, you're saying?
Right field bleachers.
Oh, right field bleachers. Okay, that's bizarre. Just wait till they get to the national championship game and lose by 40. Yeah. Are you confident with Notre Dame? I sense a little cockiness from you as of late.
No,
with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
I mean, I think I don't know. I think they'll win these next 2 games, and they'll probably lose to whoever they play in the first round. That's my guess. Like, if they play an Ole Miss, Georgia, Alabama, like, I don't feel really good about either of those 3 teams. Mm-hmm. So,
and they're projected right now to play Alabama in the latest ranking. So they probably
I don't feel game. Even at home, I don't think they have enough talent.
Can you imagine Alabama going to Notre Dame? Oh, that'd be
juicy.
Fun. That'd be fun. That's juicy. That's a marketing person's dream right there. All right, we'll come on back a little onside, offset. Also get to the dependable player of the week. But first up with the latest update, here is the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network, Sports Flash.
Stu was also born on a Friday. The last place Browns host the AFC North leading Steelers tonight to kick off Week 12. Pittsburgh comes in with a 5-game winning streak, the last 4 coming with Russell Wilson as the starter. The Browns have a new one in Jameis Winston with Deshaun Watson done for the year. He'll get his first taste of this rivalry as he tries to get the Browns turned around against a tough Steeler D.
They're bend but don't break defense, and they're disciplined. They're a sound defense. They don't make mistakes. They're really good. They got 3 premier rushers, 2 on the edge, 1 in the interior. They got a Patrick Queen is playing better than he's played. They got a young corner that's elite.
Winston threw for nearly 400 yards last week. The Eagles' Devontae Smith missed a second straight day of practice due to a hamstring injury. The Capitals' Alex Ovechkin is out 4 to 6 weeks with a fractured leg. Baseball's most valuable players will be announced tonight. Aaron Judge goes for his second award in 3 years. The Yankee star led the American League with 58 homers, 144 RBIs, and also hit .322. The Royals' Bobby Witt led the majors with a .332 average and is a finalist, along with another Yankee, Juan Soto. 50-50 man Shohei Ohtani, the heavy favorite in the National League over Francisco Lindor and Ketel Marte. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. We're from the Backstreet Boys, and you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh, my God, we're back again.
All righty, the Dependable Player of the Week is sponsored by Depend and the Prostate Cancer Foundation, reminding you that health is a long game and screening for prostate cancer is easier than ever. Learn more at Depend.com. This week's player is Steelers quarterback Russell Wilson. Here we go. Since taking over for Justin Fields, Wilson has completed 60% of his passes to go along with 6 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions. Here we go. Pittsburgh is 4-0 during that stretch, including wins over the Commanders and Ravens. Onside, offside time on a Thursday, usually done on a Friday, but we're off tomorrow, so we're treating today like it's a Friday on the Zach Gelb Show. That's the dealio. Stu, hit it.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, what do we got? Stupak.
All right, so the Pro Football Hall of Fame announced the 25 semifinalists for the class of 2025. Among this group are 6 players in their first year of eligibility, including Eli Manning, Luke Kuechly, Terrell Suggs, Adam Vinatieri, 5-time All-Pro Earl Thomas, and 7-time All-Pro Marshall Yanda. Onsides, offsides, all 6 of these first-year players should get into the Hall of Fame eventually.
So let's just do a little test here, Stu. I have my answer. Just yes or no, do you think they're Hall of Famer? Just first instinct when I say their name. Eli.
Yes.
Luke Kuechly.
Yes.
Terrell Suggs.
Yes.
Adam Vinatieri.
Yes.
Earl.
I'll say no.
Marshall Yanda.
I'll say no.
Ooh, okay.
It's close, though.
My first reaction, Eli, yes. I know it's complicated. Luke Kuechly, yes. Adam Vinatieri, yes. I said yes for Terrell Suggs. Take a guess how many career sacks he had, just wondering. Take a guess.
I guess it's a lot. I would think it's in like 100, no? Because I feel like he's had some seasons close to 20. I'd say like 100, maybe like 120.
139. I'm not going to lie. I knew he had a good amount. I didn't know he had 139 career sacks. He's 7-time Pro Bowler, Defensive Player of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, so he definitely is. Marshall is. Earl Thomas, to me, is the complicated one. Now, he was on the All-Decade team. He's a 7-time Pro Bowler and a 3-time first-team All-Pro. And he played from 2010 to 20... Yeah, he is. He's a Hall of Famer. You know, he's the guy that was really damn good. But didn't he have... Not that this matters to me. During the pandemic, wasn't there something going on with, like, his brother or his cousin? And they got caught at... You know, there's allegations, so I probably shouldn't say this, but... Do you remember, Stu, that story? There was something there.
Very vaguely, yes.
Where they may have been sleeping with the same woman, and then the wife on Snapchat found it or something like that. I remember talking about Earl Thomas. And it's funny how, like, a memory like that, you just think about that compared to the guy being a great football player. You know, yeah. 7-time Pro Bowler, 3-time he's a Hall of Famer. So, yeah, all 6 of those guys will eventually get into the Hall of Fame on sides.
All right, so the defending NFC champion 49ers are just 5-5 after that crucial overtime loss to the Seahawks last weekend and have a tough remaining schedule, including this weekend's game against the 7-3 Packers. Their remaining 7 opponents have a combined record of 44-27, including the Bills, Rams, Lions, and Cardinals. Onsides, offsides, this is a must-win game for the 49ers to make the playoffs.
I think it's a you gotta have it. Is it a must-win? I'm not gonna say must-win. It puts them in a tough spot. It's more like you could use it. Because you lose this game, you fall to 5-6. You know, maybe everything shakes up where it stays the same in your division. But you look at the schedule the rest of the way: Buffalo, Chicago, Los Angeles, Miami, Detroit, Arizona. It feels like all these games are must-win. But must-win to me means if you don't win it, you're definitely out of it. So it would be really nice if they could have it. You kind of got to have it, but I wouldn't say it's a must-win, so I go offside.
Offside!
It would behoove them, though, greatly to win this game. That's all I'll say.
So over the past few days, Major League Baseball has announced awards for the American League and National League Rookie of the Year, Manager of the Year, and yesterday the Cy Young. In the NL, the Braves' Chris Sale took home his first win. While our buddy Scooby-Dooby-Doo, Tariq Skubal, won the Cy Young in the American League. So onsides, offsides, MLB should do away with the AL and NL award winners and just have one winner for the entire league.
Can you say Scooby-Dooby-Doo how you said it again?
Scooby-Dooby-Doo?
Yeah, I like that. Good. Good job. MLB should do away with the AL and NL award winners and just have one winner for the entire league. When I first read this question, Stu, I was going to say onsides. But the more and more I think about it, Major League Baseball has such a tough time promoting the product and has such a tough time getting in the news for something positive that I understand now these leagues are identical. You know, they both have the DH. The rules are all the same. So I would kind of prefer to do that. But to just have one MVP, even though it'd be awesome this year as an Ohtani or Judge, you know, would be really damn cool. But it takes away from a publicity standpoint when you look at having 2 awards, one for each league. So that's why, since baseball doesn't have a lot of good PR, I would actually say offside, the MLB should do away with the AL and NL award winners and just have one winner for the entire sport.
Offside. All right, so usually LeBron James goes 0 dark 30 in the playoffs, avoiding all social media so he can focus on the games. However, after years of backlash and people calling him a liar,
yeah, because he lies,
LeBron announced yesterday that he was stepping away from his 200 million followers, saying, quote, "Getting off social media for the time being. Y'all take care," end of quote. Onsides, offsides, LeBron James is unfairly treated by the media and on social media.
Why, did he get backlash for this?
I think a tiny bit. I think he gets clowned a lot, but
Do you really?
I mean, it's clowned. I'm not saying it's not justified, but
LeBron is obviously one of the greatest basketball players of all time. But here's my biggest problem with LeBron. He pretends to be like buddy-buddy with everybody. You know, he's rooted for like 9,000 NFL teams. You know, it's crazy.
He's rooted for 3 of the 4 teams that were in the Final Four of the baseball playoffs between the Yankees, Guardians, and Dodgers.
It's crazy. So I just would like him to be critical of something for once. And you know what? Basketball's so vanilla right now. It's so boring. There's not a lot of great rivalries. I miss a competitive fire of someone like a Kobe Bryant, right? Kobe wasn't trying to be buddy-buddy with everybody. Kobe was trying to rip your head off. Kobe wasn't playing to be friends with everyone. He was playing to win. And that's my biggest problem with LeBron. He's an all-time great, obviously, right now, the second greatest player of all time. No, that's not a Michael LeBron debate. We're not doing that today. I don't got time for that. And he will go down in history, either him or Michael being referred to as the greatest basketball player ever. But to me, I just wish he would stop trying to be like a politician and friends with everyone and just be honest for once. And also, you're such a douche when you announce on social media that you're taking a leave on social media from social media. Just stop. Just don't put anything out there. Do yourself a favor. So LeBron James is unfairly treated by the media, and on social media, no, offside.
Offside.
Are you buying into the Lakers, who were 10-4 to start off the season? 7-3 in their last 10 and have won 6 in a row.
Better than I thought. I thought they would miss the playoffs entirely this year. I still think they're probably in that play-in, that 7-10 range. When all said and done, I think there's too many good teams in the West, so I don't know. I'm a little more excited about them, but I don't think they're contenders or anything like that.
So you're not getting your hopes up to be disappointed?
No, I can't do that.
Okay. How's that Connect playing? Just wondering.
He's great. He had like 37 the other
Right?
night.
He had big game the other night.
He's been really good.
I like him.
Me
That's
too.
a dude that had a lot of confidence and just like kind of Joe Burrow swagger. It was cool, calm confidence. First time I got to talk to him. By the way, I texted Sam Levitt after the interview. Thanks for coming on. I think he's a guy that just says bro a lot. And that could hurt him maybe in the combine when they're interviewing him and he's broing, Brad Holmes or somebody. I said, hey, Sam, appreciate the chat. Good luck the rest of the way. Thanks for coming on. He goes, yes, sir. Thanks, bro. Big bro guy, that Sam Levitt. All righty, last one. Let's go.
All right, we'll close out. Yesterday, legendary UConn women's coach Gino Auriemma became the winningest basketball coach in Division I history, surpassing former Stanford legend Tara Vanderveer. Auriemma, who already passed the men's all-time leader in Coach K last year, sits at 359 wins ahead of the next active coach, 65-year-old John Calipari, who is 858. Onsides, offsides, whatever the final win total is when Auriemma retires, will never be broken.
Did you see what they did last night at the UConn game? They brought a goat out on the court. And Gino gets on the mic. I heard this morning on Boomer and Gio. And he goes, I hear if the goat, I can't say this word, takes a you-know-what on the court, it means we'll win a national championship this year. Great job by Gino Auriemma. I thought that was absolutely hysterical. But to answer your question, whatever the final win total is when Auriemma retires will never be broken, yeah. Because a lot of these coaches don't want to coach that long anymore because of name, image, and likeness. And this run is crazy that he's been on. So onsides, whenever the final win total is, when it's all said and done, it's never going to be broken for Gino Auriemma. Absolutely onsides. All righty. It's a fun week of the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. You can hear me on Saturday on WFAN New York from 9 to 9:30 a.m. I will also be here on Sunday on the Infinity Sports Network for Sunday Morning Football, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time. And then we'll be back on Monday, starting at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. So I'm off tomorrow. I have a work event that I have to go to, which I can't be on the air tomorrow for. And then also Monday and Tuesday we are in next week. We are not here Wednesday. We are not here Thursday. And we will not be here Friday of next week. So adjust your schedules accordingly. We apologize for that. Stu, great job. Sam, did a great job. Act, thank you. Each and every one of you. Thank you as well. We will talk to you in this time slot on Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. We out. Bye-bye. Have a good night, everybody. Peace.